generation of warfare, psychological warfare. In modern conflict, the mind is a potent weapon. Discover General Michael T. Flynn's groundbreaking guide, The Citizen's Guide to Fifth Generation Warfare. Unlock tactics, strategies, and the mindset to navigate this cognitive battlefield that we all find ourselves in. Equip yourself against manipulation and emerge unscathed. Unleash your potential. Order now.
Why does it always go to that damn little screen? What's up, family? How's it going? Welcome to the AlphaWarrior Show. It is Monday night. It is July 13th, 2026, which means it's a conversation with just Alpha. And Alpha being all of you warriors that are there. So thank you guys for joining tonight. Hopefully, since this is a live show, I will start to see on YouTube and Rumble some of those 5x5s and loud and clear. So I feel confident that the stream is working. And I just want to say, shout out to all of you guys. There's a lot going on in our country and in the world right now. And it's in the title, folks. Hold the line, hold the line, hold the line. There's going to be, I know you guys all want to, so early this morning, some information surfaced regarding Trump's special broadcasts on Thursday night, the 16th. And we will cover that, but we're going to cover it at the end of the show. And I think there's a lot of content tonight, but I think we can fly through it fairly fast. I think we're going to be, I know I jinx it every time, but I think we're going to be right about the 2.5 hour to 3 hour mark. And I think we can, I will expedite this. I'll try to be more conscious of my commentary on some of these things. But there's just a lot of important stuff. And I just want to make sure that we're all, or at least you guys understand the page that I'm on, and you can make of it as you will. So we'll cover that. Also, a nice little treat at the end of the show. You guys know, done some songs and played on for you guys, some patriotic stuff and all that. I did one and finished it up today, and this one's a little more personal. And I think you guys will like it. I think it will move you guys, and we'll wrap the show up with that cool little video. Hopefully you guys will enjoy it. So if you go the distance tonight, you'll get to say that you'll see the debut of this song. It has never been publicly played because I just finished it today. So hopefully if you stick around, you'll be there for that. Right out of the gate, hold on. Is this a shout out to the Final Demand? Right, the show is in the beginning, the infancy of the evening, and Final Demand goes and gives 5 subscriptions. So thank you for that. On YouTube, I saw somebody did something, and I think it's cool. I don't know exactly what it means. But Patience 8947 sent a Sunday for 100 joules. And I've heard people talking about that. So I don't know if one of you guys over there on YouTube wants to tell me what that means or even where I find it, but it looks cool. So I at least want to give you some love for it. And again, throughout the night, we'll play some of that stuff. What are we going to talk about tonight? Obviously, Lindsey Graham is dead. Going to provide you an assessment on that. Going to give you guys kind of my take on Mitch McConnell, where that's going. Massive Declas incoming. You guys have, some of you, maybe if you've dived into social media tonight, you've heard some of the scuttlebutt that's around there. It's boom time. And all I can say with absolute confidence is between now and November 3rd of this year, buckle up. We've been talking about this for some time. I know my assessments have been pretty damn accurate over the last few years, but in these last couple of weeks, especially these last few days, with some of the information that's been provided to me, some of the hints that have been sent to me, and just some of the stuff we've all witnessed, it's like, holy shit, like my assessment is dialed in accurate. So I want to cover, a little bit more of that as we get into the show tonight, because it's just one of those things where you're like, you did the work, you did the research, and you've been accurate. But when it's something this significant, we're talking about something we are living through what is going to be in the future history books of this great country. And to know that, wow, like we're calling this with a level of accuracy that no one else is, it's humbling, and it kind of makes you puts you in awe. So just understand that's a testament to all of us here. So with that, let's make America healthy again, but let's make each other healthy again. You're going to see a QR code populate on the screen. I'm going to do a fantastic job of a special interview broadcast for you guys to see. Neutronics Labs, IGF-1, Maximus 1 million. You guys have heard me talk about these guys. I played them the other night. I'm going to be playing them again this week because it's that important. Anti-aging. Forget the mindset of you have to age gracefully. You don't, all right? Between this stuff and then you can add the IGF. This is the sweet stack. This is the 300,000 one that I started with. This is the one that has the long jack. Also, this is the velvet deer extract stuff. They do it. Gone through the show explaining how they do it without harming the animals. You can't make something living by giving it dead stuff. So we're using live stuff and the way they go through this process. But again, folks, this stuff is great. If you're dealing with issues of recovery, fatigue, this stuff's going to help you. If you're dealing with issues of sleep, this stuff's going to help you. If you want to burn fat, this stuff is going to help you. If you're having issues with your joints, this stuff is going to help you. If you enjoyed the final part of that little bonus content I did with energy and libido, this stuff is going to help you. So this is what I need you guys to do tonight, tomorrow, over the next couple of days. Go to neutronicslabs.com. neutronicslabs.com/alpha. And you're good 50% off with the auto ship, but it doesn't end there. And a platinum bottle of IGF-1 completely free of charge. Not the Maximus, but you'll get this bad boy for free. On top of that, if you use the promo code ALPHA, you're going to get an additional 10% off. So you're talking 60% off. Again, neutronicslabs.com/alpha. I hope you guys get to that stuff. And then you guys know one of my other favorites. I take it every single day. And when we come back, it's showtime.
Science proves that a healthy immune system is the body's first defense against the smallest of ailments to the most catastrophic. Coriolus versicolor is the most sought-after, all-natural supplement for both humans and pets to help boost the immune system. There are over 400 studies worldwide on its effectiveness in humans, including Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, MD Anderson Cancer Center, and now from the University of Pennsylvania School of Veterinary Medicine. Together, we can help reverse this terrible tide now plaguing your loved ones and give them the immune-boosting supplements that they need.
AlphaWarrior247.com, AlphaWarrior Pets, those links down in the description, including all the links to my partners, affiliates, and sponsors. I know that video at the beginning end of it probably had you guys motivated. Shout out Julie Donuts who put that on there. When we get back into the White House, I will totally obliterate the deep state. That is our president, Donald J. Trump. And he has been doing it, folks. He's been doing it. We are taking on the most powerful deep state entity. Think about every story you've ever read in the Bible. Think about every story and conflict you have researched in the history books. Think about every movie you have ever watched with the good guys versus the bad guys, whether fiction or nonfiction. Think about all of that. Folks, if it hasn't registered with you yet, we are that group of humanity that is now fighting the biggest enemy in the existence of this planet right now. And this president is at the tip of the spear to lead the way as we all do this together. That's where we're at. If you just haven't registered the gravity of what is going on yet. And he's done this in a way of understanding there's part of humanity that will never wake up. There's part of humanity that is in the question phase. And there's a part of humanity that has taken the red pill and is wide awake to what's going on. And he has to navigate this battlefield without letting down any of these aspects of humanity, because despite whether you like it or I like it, we are all equal. Even the ones that are asleep, even the ones who have had the red pill and chose to plug themselves back in, we are all humans. We are a part of humanity. This is our planet as a whole. We are all equal, and this president is navigating this in a way to benefit everybody. And I'm just fired up along with you guys to be a part of it. So again, he said he would take on the deep state. He is. So let's get into some of the general news of these things unfolding. Katie Zachariah says billions in SNAP fraud in California. Color me shocked. I thought Rob Bonta and Gavin Newsom were on it. They probably are. Oh, and by the way, estimates that up to 11% of the 12.5 billion, that's billion with a B, SNAP fraud equals 1.375 billion. But who is counting? This is crazy. Take a listen to this one.
Katie Zachariah. Katie, great to see you. Here's what Joel Pollack of the California Post said about California food SNAP fraud.
Basically, some of the store owners were exchanging food stamps for cash and kickbacks. And what the feds discovered was that there were small bodegas running up million-dollar tabs in food stamps, and the kickbacks were providing the bulk of those transactions.
You know, he went on to say, Katie, when you have a system like California, there's just so much government money coming in, it really is just impossible to keep track of all the stuff that's flowing towards.
Well, it may be impossible, but the state government under Gavin Newsom or our wonderful Attorney General, I mean that sarcastically, Rob Bonta, have done nothing to investigate the fraud. And now President Trump's DOJ, through HSI and his U.S. attorney, are having to go investigate massive fraud. And look, it looks like there's about 11% is what they're estimating of the fraud that's going into California. Trace at $12.5 billion in SNAP benefits to California. 11% is $1.375 billion. Okay, this is not small dollars. This is money that should be in the pocket of every tax-paying citizen in California and America, and it's being fraudulently spent, likely. So this is disturbing and disgusting that President Trump has to do this, Trace.
And on it goes, Katie, and it doesn't seem like anybody wants to do anything about it. Meantime,
we're not done. Eric Dougherty puts out, we're going to have a lot from Eric tonight. Just in, the Trump Labor Department says Gavin Newsom owes $22 billion to the American taxpayer, and the bill must be paid. Gavin Newsom is $22 billion in debt to the UI Trust Fund, which means he owes $22 billion to the American people because of the money he borrowed into unemployment insurance. And quite frankly, that bill is eventually going to have to be paid. And right now, the people who are holding the bag are the business owners in California, folks. The crime family in California is being destroyed. It's being exposed and destroyed with active investigations that are happening right now. It's happening all over the country, but we know how important California and New York are to the deep state, and they are being flushed out. And it's being done in a way that we know what's going on under the curtain, under the sewer lines. But the normies, the part of humanity that's chose to stay asleep, they're seeing this. This is awesome. Take a listen to this one. We don't got too many videos tonight, so you actually are going to hear a lot of me talking. You'll survive.
Labor Department recovered more than $512 million in fraudulent unemployment claims related to the CARES Act back to the Treasury Department. This is the second major recovery from the Maryland Division of Unemployment Insurance, now totaling more than $1 billion. Inspector, tell us more about this. How did this happen?
Yeah, listen, it's great work. Again, I am blessed to be able to work with amazing people, auditors, investigators, administrators who have been working night and day and have been all in on this effort to root out fraud that President Trump has put forth. And this was a huge undertaking. And I think what's critical about this is not just the identification of the money, but the fact that because of Vice President J.D. Vance's fraud task force, we were able to work together with the U.S. Treasury Treasury and claw this money back into the Treasury for the American people. I mean, there is so much money out there when it comes to fraud. And again, you look at a place like California. Gavin Newsom is $22 billion in debt to the UI Trust Fund, which means he owes over $22 billion to the American people because of money he borrowed into unemployment insurance. And quite frankly, that bill is eventually going to have to be paid. And right now, the people who are holding the bag are the business owners in California. You take a place like New York, my hometown, your hometown. I mean, the state of New York is losing between $1.5 and $2 million per day in either overpayments or fraud. That's per day, not per week, not per month, not per year. Almost $2 million per day. So next week, we're going to have a strike team heading into New York to start reviewing all of this documents so that we can make sure that the money is kept for the American people.
Well, the numbers are...
The prosperity that our country is going to enjoy when this fraud has been eviscerated, I don't even think we can contemplate what that looks like. And of course, there's a part of this video, some of you guys will probably recognize it, that pisses me off personally because of what me and my family were subjected to in 2021. So if you're familiar with my story, think about that in the back of your head as you listen to Newsom right here. This comes from C-SPAN. It says California Governor Gavin Newsom called the Justice Department investigation into him purely political, claiming the department had been directed to find something. You just heard two clips talking about the amount of money that Newsom, Bonta, California, the deep state that's here in this state owes, and he calls that a political witch hunt. But remember what he did to Trump. Remember what he did to the J6ers, to parents in school districts. Remember that stuff. Remember when we were all locked down and this guy and his friends were at a fancy restaurant. Remember that stuff as you listen to this clip. Here we go.
Details can you provide on the FBI federal investigations into you, your wife, your staff?
Not much more than has already been provided. I mean, this is purely political. You've seen some of the reporting. I'm not sure. Maybe you guys have reported it as well. People have stated pretty clearly that they were directed to find something.
Have more people been contacted in your circle?
To find something. Just directed. Find something. It says everything you need to know about the United States of America under Donald Trump. And so we continue to, maintain vigilance as it relates to the just weaponization by the Department of Justice and other power ministries under the Trump administration. And a lot has been reported, and I don't have much more to add except it's pretty disgraceful.
Can you explain more why you decided to reveal those details first, Governor? In the video, you also would acknowledge that you were considering the 2020 presidential run. So again, can you emphasize more?
Well, that was table stakes. And it's pretty obvious that I'm not timid as it relates to calling out the abuses of the most corrupt administration in American history. What more evidence did you need than the tax returns that he just put out, the $2.2 billion in income that Donald Trump has received, the fact that investors in his meme coin lost $3.8 billion, was it? While he made out with over $600 million, the great grift. You saw that on display, vulgar display, with a $400 million Qatari plane that he had to get off because apparently it's not even mechanically sound as it relates to its defense positioning, where we spent hundreds of millions of dollars not on developmental disabilities. In fact, they cut that budget. Trump administration cut the budget for kids with developmental disabilities, but had no problem increasing the budget for his vanity for a private plane that he'll be taking with him when he leaves the administration, the most corrupt administration in history that has gone after his opponents consistently. And so I was clear in that statement why I did what I did, and that was the abuse was overwhelming poor and innocent people getting knocks on the door first thing in the morning, having to hire private attorneys, lives and reputation at risk for no other reason they want to take me out, going after my wife. Doesn't have the gut. He's tried. He reported that. Couldn't figure out how to get me. Now he's trying to find anyone around us. That's America. That's abusive. It's wrong. So I wanted to socialize it because I thought it was the right thing to do. People need to know what's going on. And there's a certain point where it's just enough's enough. And we absorbed a lot of it. And I said, this is ridiculous now. Just going in 52 different directions. Again, because they were told, find something, anything.
Obviously, you know, the part I'm pissed off about when he brings up people being awakened and private attorneys, knowing what he subjected myself and my family to, amongst many, many, many others. Also, something interesting. You get Trump a few days ago that mentions 5.2. You get Newsom right now that mentions 52. Just keep that in the back of your mind over the next few days. So again, of course, I'm from California, so I want to make sure we get some of the California stuff in there. But this is something that affected the whole entire country. I'm sorry. John Solomon puts out breaking Fed Reserve working paper suggests. This is crazy, folks. The Fed Reserve working paper suggests Biden illegal immigrant wave drove up home prices 30%. That is astronomical. Aside from everything else it did, besides depleting a lot of our social services by putting the burden of safety on our law enforcement, home prices drove up 30%. For any of you that have bought homes in the last 5 years, this probably pisses you off. For people like myself that want to buy a home right now, are kind of in this holding pattern of, do we wait? Do we go? How's this? Are they going to come down? This is all a result of that invasion that they call an immigration, crisis. Well, the left doesn't even call it a crisis. They just call it immigration. Some people on the right call it an immigration crisis. My position's always been an invasion, a deployment of military forces into our country. But then again, 30%. I'm hoping that's a number that's going to be reversed. Yeah, Donnie Vision says, yeah, rent went from $1,000 to $1,600. Yeah, it is unfair to the working American. It is unfair that you listening to this broadcast right now is trying to balance a bank account to buy things that prices are inflated because of corrupt governments, because of a corrupt economic system, because of a corrupt political system, and because an establishment party has chosen to build their coffers on your blood and sweat. And there's us, and there is Trump that is trying to fix that. And again, folks, understand that means there's going to be growing pains. We don't go through everything we went through and Trump just waves a magic wand and signs a paper and everything's great again. No, it is going to cost us pain and suffering to bring manufacturing back to this country. We're going to pay more in that process as Trump navigates the gas and oil scenarios, right? That chessboard that is going to cost us things. You've seen he has exposed the market manipulation when it comes to commodities, when it comes to resources. So just understand, folks, as you pay more for some of your groceries, as you pay more for some of your gas, as we pay more, we are carrying a burden that our children and our grandchildren won't have to if we win. I've said it a lot. I just want to remind people, especially since we have a lot of you visitors. Speaking of new visitors, if you haven't done so already and you're enjoying the content, whatever platform you're watching, press that heart, smash that thumb, and share it out. It costs you nothing but a little bit of some trigger time to do that. And then if you really, really want to, become a subscriber. We're going to be doing some Q&A stuff at your guys' request. Paul Sperry puts out, we've been talking about this a lot over the last few days or few shows between me and Josh. Developing, and we read this article last week. I think it was on either Overwatch and the Guardian or DeathCon, or might have even been Q After Hours. One of the shows, we do so many shows together. One of the shows we covered this, but here's a little bit more. as a cooperating witness, important cooperating witness, because he's the only one in the list of names that we read where he's listed as a witness. As a cooperating witness in the ongoing Russiagate conspiracy probe, former NSA director Mike Rogers has already told investigators some alarming new information. DOJ insiders tell me. Rogers clash with who? Brennan and Clapper. Yes, I'm smiling because I know it's coming down the pipe. During the manufacturing of the ICA, this story is developing. It is. And again, I'm not trying to get ahead of the show. I'm not trying to get ahead of it, but it's so hard because you guys get me fired up. If you've been following my Just Alpha series, all right, I've said it on a bunch of shows, but for we've absolutely have, I know that I've probably annoyed you guys. I've said it so much. The choke point, the fatal funnel, right before we get to midterms. If you guys are following my content, if you're following the content of some other reliable podcasts that are out there, because there are some really good ones out there, you're seeing how all this is coming up right now. We're going to get into some more. Just remember, fatal funnel, choke point. If you're looking at an hourglass, right? That sand that comes to the middle, right? All gets compressed and then it falls out again. We are approaching that little piece right there, the choke point, right? Places where ambushes and traps are set. We'll get into this. Tomorrow's show is going to be fire too. I was actually pretty conscious of not keeping this one too long, and I put some of the content for tomorrow's show too. So, Toria Brooke puts out new reporting circulating that hundreds of documents related to Seth Rich were allegedly found in previously hidden room within the FBI headquarters. Burn bags, of course, folks, burn bags, because the deep state is not going to destroy it. They're just going to hide it and hope we don't find it. This goes to the theory we have it all. Worth remembering when Julian Assange alluded to the possibility that Seth Rich was killed for being a WikiLeaks whistleblower. We're getting closer. Take a listen to this one.
Donald Trump has had a disastrous few weeks. If you look at the polls, he needs a miracle. In the American political lexicon, there's such a thing as the October surprise. The stuff that you're sitting on, is an October surprise in there? Do you even know what you're sitting on?
WikiLeaks never sits on material. Whistleblowers go to significant efforts to get us material and often very significant risks. As a 27-year-old, works for the DNC, who was shot in the back, murdered just 2 weeks ago for unknown reasons as he was walking down the street in Washington. So
that was just a robbery, I believe, wasn't it?
No, there's no finding. So
what are you suggesting? What are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that our sources take risks and they become concerned to see things occurring like that.
But was he one of your sources then? I mean,
we don't comment on who our sources are.
But why make the suggestion about a young guy being shot in the streets of Washington?
Because we have to understand how high the stakes are in the United States, and that our sources are, our sources face serious risks. That's why they come to us, so we can protect their anonymity.
But it's quite something to suggest a murder. That's basically what you're doing.
Well, that others have suggested that. We are investigating to understand what happened in that situation with Seth Rich. I think it is a concerning situation. There's not a conclusion yet. We wouldn't be willing to state a conclusion, but we are concerned about it. And more importantly, a variety of WikiLeaks sources are concerned when that kind of thing happens.
If you guys remember, in the very, very beginning, and some of you that are new won't, but those of you that have followed me from day one of when I started to do podcasting in late August 30th, 2021, that was the first AlphaWarrior Show episode we ever did. Please don't go back and look. It's very embarrassing. But if you guys remember during around that time, there was a man who was very helpful to teaching me a lot about podcasting and the way this world of podcasting works. And, a lot of people, this man went through something very bad in his life, nearly killed him. And it was sad to see that I know how many people this man helped out. And I'm going to tell you guys his name here in a second. But it was very sad to see all the people that this man helped out and how many of them weren't there at a time in his life when he just needed to hear some friendly voices. And this man, his name is Matt Couch. And this man was very good friends with Seth Rich and the Seth Rich family. And there's a lot to that story that I won't get into. But I would imagine that we are probably going to hear from Matt Couch sometime in the next year. And I just want you guys to remember that name. He lost one of his legs due to a medical crisis that he went through, and it almost killed him. And he's a father. And so, special prayer to Matt. And if you're listening, brother, still always have you on my mind, and we'll talk and laugh again soon. But Matt Couch, folks, a guy that is underrated when it comes to friendships and this world, but he's going to be extremely instrumental, because if there's one person that knows more about the Seth Rich saga than anybody, it's probably him. Just remember that. So let's shift gears here a little bit. The White House puts out correcting the record. No matter how desperately the fake news spins or downplays the crime of illegal aliens, and man, have they been trying to do that, the facts remain the same. Illegal alien held on $700,000 bail in Pennsylvania trooper death. Illegal alien sentenced to 25 years for molesting a child. Should be a death sentence. But mainstream media and the left will try to protect these people. This next one's going to get a little harder. Secretary Marco Rubio comes out and says Laotian national Tao Lu Vang was convicted of sexually abusing a 10-year-old girl in Minnesota. He was set to be deported. He was going to be deported. And then Governor Tim Walz issued him a pardon, folks. Then I revoked his legal status. ICE has removed him from the U.S., and he will never endanger another American. Sexually abuses a little girl, 10 years old, and Governor Tim Walz gives him a pardon. These people hate America. They hate your children. Listen to this.
Just weeks ago, a convicted sex offender and a foreign national was shielded from deportation by the governor of Minnesota. Laotian national Tu Li Vang was convicted of repeatedly sexually abusing a 10-year-old girl in the state of Minnesota. He even tried to pay his victim for her silence, and he called his heinous crimes a minor thing. Just days before this foreign sex offender was scheduled to be deported, Tim Walz, the governor, issued him a pardon, setting him free to once again endanger the children of America. Well, this week I revoked his legal status in the United States, and as a result, federal agents took him into custody, and as of today, he has been removed from the United States. Because of our action, this foreign criminal will never pose a threat to any American ever again. Americans must never be forced by their elected leaders to live alongside foreign sex criminals who have no right to begin with to reside in our country. This administration will always stand with the American people and defend them from violent criminals.
You know, I appreciate with what Rubio did. I appreciate what ICE did. They did make our country safer by deporting this guy. But Walz created a nightmare for this child because she knows that he's not in custody anymore. She knows, what if he sneaks back into this country to come for me? Tim Walz Tim Walz re-victimized this child by making her have to live in fear that the man that did this to her, instead of being behind bars, is free in another country somewhere. I will not say on air what I hope finds him, wherever he may be. But I think some of you are smart enough to figure that out. Redheaded Libertarian puts out, well. Breaking 911 says Senator John Thune reportedly took $1.58 million from the illegal labor lobby pushing amnesty. That's why he won't force the SAVE Act to the floor. A new website has launched to hold him accountable, firethune.com. You guys know my position. Me and Josh disagree here, although he does provide a very compelling argument. You know, if you saw Q After Hours last night on Badlands, it's what we do on Sundays at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Central. He did provide a compelling argument. I haven't shifted my positions, but I am at least open to the scenario he put out there. But it's things like this that make me dig my heels in the sand when it comes to Thune, including his associations. This is not one of those things that makes me think that he's a good guy playing a role. I think he is a POS. Department of War CTO says, this one's kind of cool, and I'll tell you guys why here in just a second. The DOW announced today that the award of 2 joint laser weapon systems, other transaction authority agreements, valued at an initial $86 million, with a total program ceiling of $847 million, to Enlight Defense and Lockheed Martin Aculite, led by the Department of War CTO SEAL Directed Energy, SCADE, Critical Technology Area. This technology sprint focuses on rapidly transitioning prototype containerized high-energy lasers into field-ready platforms for ground and naval systems. These modular speed-of-light intercept systems will scale from an initial 150 kilowatts to 500 kilowatts, providing the joint force with deep magazines and cost-effective defense capabilities to counter advanced cruise missiles and high-volume UAS swarms. Full press release at thewar.gov. And right here you see in the image, Department of War announces awards. That vehicle you see on the bottom, some of you, let me actually open this in a new tab so I can give you guys a little bit bigger view of it. This vehicle right here, again, this is artwork that's being generated right here, but this is part of the Marine Corps' light armored reconnaissance vehicles, right? This one right here looks like it's a modified one that was probably carrying a tow missile system. The tow missile system is the missile that we fire, and it has a cable attached to it the entire time so they can control its direction in mid-flight. But these are the vehicles. This is a very similar vehicle to the vehicle that I rode in the back of and was also a backup driver for when I went to war in 2003 in Iraq. Except ours on the top had a 25 millimeter Bushmaster cannon, where you had the vehicle commander and the gunner that could pop out. This is the Marine Corps version of the Bradley. So the Bradley is a vehicle that has tracks. This vehicle obviously has the 8 tires. So seeing this weapon system going to vehicles that I was a part of, pretty fucking cool. Listen, if we listen, all right, I'm just gonna say it here. My family is watching. They're probably gonna be like, "No, you're not." Yes, I am. If our country goes into the big war that I suspect is coming in 2027 with the CCP, which is, I'm getting ahead of the show, but we'll get there. If our country goes into the big war that I anticipate, which is going to be the final war for a very long time in 2027, you guys are probably going to miss me in the podcasting world, because I will enlist. I will find a way to go and be a part of that war, to give my experience, my knowledge, and my motivation to the young troops. Maybe they'll let me be a combat correspondent and I can still do podcasting somehow. But I'm telling you folks, there's no way we're going to have a real war on this planet that our country is fighting that I'm not going to be a part of. I don't care how old I am. So family, we got to work it out, but it'll take place. So there you guys heard it. You heard it here first. Alpha will be going to war somehow. I will beg and plead and be a pest to the Secretary of War and his friends to make sure that I get in there with an age waiver. Speaking of our military and our Secretary of War, You guys probably heard this story. Matt Van Swol says, what on earth? The National Guard has just suspended all 8 pilots of the Apache helicopters that flew on the Salute to the Shore flyover across the South Carolina coast. This was a super cool video. Let me hit play here. You guys can kind of see it. So you get these, the Apache helicopters that do these low flyovers. Super cool, super motivating. Like this America, right? America. And then we find out that these pilots get suspended. That generates this, and I see Warrior Gal says, I agree, Alpha. I know there's a lot of Patriots in this chat that will join. So these pilots get suspended. It starts to go viral on social media, obviously grabs the attention of the Secretary of War, who says, we'll fix this. Carry on, Patriots. Because again, we have remnants of retards that have still found a way to hide in important places within our military. And Pete saying, I'm going to find these sacks of shit that suspended our great pilots, and I am going to deal with this and carry on. And I think I have one more from Sean Purnell. And you guys remember Sean? He's been on this podcast. He had me and Ken Con on his podcast. Great friend to the Secretary of War and a great man himself. And he says, effective immediately, the suspension of all involved South Carolina pilots has been lifted. Carry on, Patriots. That's how fast that shit gets done. And just like Alan in the chat says, thank you, Pete. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. These things for people that are like, what's the big deal? Morale. Morale for your troops has to be maintained at a high level, especially when we're taking on a deep state, especially when we have DEI remnants that exist in our military, and especially what our military has been through in the 4 years of the administration of Biden, right? Being kicked out because they wanted to maintain body autonomy and not take a bioweapon into their body. You know, having our vehicles and budgets. I mean, it was a mess in our military. And obviously just the knowledge that Trump won the presidency back in November of 2024, the first recruiting numbers in Trump's administration going into 2025 had already blown away the anticipated numbers and had set records we hadn't had in a long time. I think they said ever, but I think at least it was like 2 decades or something like that. You need to maintain that morale. Again, especially for what I believe is coming down the pipe in 2027. So again, great job by Sean and Pete over there. The White House says the Trump effect. U.S. manufacturing is back. Apple, folks, to invest $30 billion in U.S. chip manufacturing. What does that translate to, folks? Jobs for Americans. Jobs for Americans. People who have, chip manufacturing, I would imagine, requires a lot of schooling. So I would imagine these are people that went to college, probably developed some debt along the way. And then with a lot of jobs being outsourced, a lot of jobs being sent to H-1B visas, which we're seeing that shift. There's a lot of Americans that have been praying for work. This translates into that work that Americans have been praying for. That's a lot of money, folks. It's a lot of money. So I hope as we start to address these H-1B visa issues, that we see some dreams come true for some Americans. Victoria Brooke comes out and says, new Toyota is moving from Mexico to the United States in Texas. A really big deal. Tariffs at work. President Donald Trump, and this is his Truth Social post from July the 7th. Toyota is moving from Mexico to the United States, Texas. A really big deal. Tariffs at work. President Donald J. Trump. What does that mean? More jobs. And so all those clowns, all those doomers, and all those black pillars, and all those people that try to pretend like they're pro-America and said, tariffs are illegal. Trump can't do tariffs. Tariffs never work. You know, the rest of the world's been tariffing the shit out of our country. They wanted us to go against Trump, and Trump showed again here, they work. Alan says, yes, but the Mexicans do need jobs too. They do need jobs, but that's their problem, not our problem. Plus, again, as we start to get rid of H-1B visas and as we start to get rid of illegals, a lot of the people that have the knowledge and experience to do manufacturing, and maybe even because they learned it here in our country, Now they go back to their country. They have a knowledge base where they can start their own companies and they can do this. Not to go off on a tangent, because I'm trying to keep this show to a time schedule that we have, but immigration hurts the countries of origin because the people that have the knowledge base and the education and the money structure, the financial structure that would benefit their country of origin leave. And so you're dealing with people that have the lack of education, not the financial structure, that remain, which is why you always just have poverty and, low wage jobs. Now you're going to have people that are going to be forced to go back to their countries of origin, and they're going to do it with a knowledge structure and an income structure where they can help take care of their country. Again, we're getting rid of NGOs and all that, which have also exploited this. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says, this is going to piss off the libs so bad. Under President Trump's leadership, we are on a path toward unprecedented economic growth, lasting dollar dominance, and fiscal strength and stability. There is no more powerful way to recognize the historic achievements of our great country and President Donald J. Trump than the U.S. dollar bills bearing his signature, and it is only appropriate that this historic currency be issued at the semi-quincentennial. So Trump's signature on the Benjamins, folks. I love it. I love the fact that it's going to piss off the the left, and I love that it's going to piss off even the woke right who thinks we're not going to have currency. I'm taking a drink because I know there's some of you in the chat that are already going to start taking some shots at me. All right. For a long time, you guys have been asking me my take on the American dollar currency, Nasara, Jasara, etc. You get it. So I'm going to give you guys a brief insight into my position. We can agree to disagree if it comes down to that, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm okay with being wrong in this one. Do I think dollar currency is going away? No. Do I think that there is going to be a modification to our physical currency? Yes. Do I think the potential to incorporate silver and gold into our dollars is possible? Absolutely. Do I think that our stock market, and this is a position that I have shifted from back in 21 and 22, a little bit. Do I think that the stock market and our currency is going to collapse? No. Let me explain why. If the stock market and all this system was just to completely collapse, this is the name and legacy of Trump. So people's retirements, their 401ks, their all of that destroyed, depleted, gone. That would be under his legacy. Ain't no way in the world Trump is ever going to allow something like that to be a part of his legacy. What I anticipate we're going to see, and I am not a financial guy, right? So I'm going to make this make sense from the brain of the crayon eater. So roll with me here for a sec. I believe we are going to see the destruction of the Fed. I believe that we are going to see a destruction of the way that the Treasury Department and these things have operated. But I think it is going to be a controlled demolition. I think we are going to see the incorporation of a hybrid model that includes digital currencies and stable coins along with our paper currency, our coin currency, however that looks like. I think we are going to see something that is a hybrid version of all that stuff. Do I see down the line the abandonment of physical currency into completely digital currency? Yes. Not now, not during this administration, folks. It ain't going to happen. This is something that is going to be a very slow process through time. And again, I think we are going to see things through, fraud eviscerates everything, including the debt, right? I think we're going to see what our debt really looks like absent the fraud. And I think these are things that are going to change the value of things and the way things are measured. I think we are going to see what's the word? Not calibration, a reevaluation of gold and silver. And I think all these things are going to play into the value of the dollar. But at least between now and January of 2029, we're not going to see our stock market completely disappear, nor are we going to see the dollar disappear. So feel free to attack me in the comments and in the chat, because I know some of you are like, yo, just Nasara, you're wrong. I hope I am. Listen, if I am wrong and Nasara Jasara is real in the way some of you interpret it, then that is something I will happily be wrong about. But I don't think it's going to play out that way, folks. So let's carry on. I know I pissed some of you guys off, but you'll survive, because now this is one of the reasons that we have to think that our stocks and stuff will be around for a while. Sign up your child for a Trump account, trumpaccounts.gov, trumpaccounts.gov. The graphic shows for children born in 2026, if the maximum contributions are made, by the time they are 18, they will have over $300,000 in their account. By the time that they are 28, they will have over $1 million in their account. If no contributions are made, and you just open up the Trump account for your little one, by the time they're 18, they have $5,800. And by the time they're 28, they have $18,000. So if you got a little one like I do, I'm going to have to do this here pretty soon with my two tiny ones. Open up the Trump account, folks. Trumpaccounts.gov. Take care of the little ones. And guess what? If you don't have a little one, but you got a grandchild or a niece, do it for them. This is a good thing. So that now moves us into the themes for tonight. Let me see if I have any cool ads that we can capitalize on as I scroll through here. And we do have one. So let me go full screen with me for just a second. Smash that thumb, hit the heart, and leave a comment if you haven't done so already. And on the screen, you're going to see a QR code populate right about now. If you've got a dog at home, you already know that they're more than just the pet. There's a part of the family. They're your best friend. Well, it turns out America's founding fathers felt the exact same way. George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and several of the men who helped build this country all had loyal dogs by their side. Some even traveled with them during the Revolutionary War and were there for some of the incredible moments in American history. When I found out that, I thought, that's actually a really cool way to get kids interested in history. And it turns out a company called The Kids Guide is already doing this. They have a guide called The Kids Guide to the Founders' Furry Friends. And it shares the true stories of the remarkable dogs that belong to American founders. It's beautifully illustrated, easy for kids to enjoy, and it teaches them about the people who shaped our country through the stories of their companions they loved most. Let's be honest, getting kids excited about history isn't always easy, but tell them that they're about to learn about George Washington's dog, and now you got their attention. I thought it was a genuinely clever idea, and if you've got kids or even grandkids who love dogs, I think that they'll have a lot of fun with it too. They're running a special offer right now that includes a kid's guide to the founders' furry friends and some other freebies. If it sounds like something your family would enjoy, just head over to freeusadoggift.com. That's freeusadoggift.com. Those links will be down in the description. And then again, one more shout out to our Pet Club family. If you guys haven't done so, if you've never tried this stuff, you guys know I have it right here. Got the yellow bottle, Enforce Plus with the Rishi, right? At a minimum, take that one or the green bottle. Next one you want to advance to is Enforce Clarity, right? This one promotes healthy brain function, promotes healthy nervous system, and promotes healthy stomach and colon. Those are the two that were the favorites I started out with. I got so confident in the product. You guys know that I take all four now, which brings us to Enforce Restore, which is the red orangish bottle. This one says supports healthy liver function, supports healthy pancreas function, and helps promote healthy blood pressure. And then the last one, Shield. Let me bring this over here for you guys. The light orange one. This one says promotes antioxidant properties, supports healthy immune system, and promotes cardiovascular health right here. And then again, if you guys do the longevity pack, which gives you a discount, it's these four things along with the bottle. I'm just sticking words tonight. I need more coffee. That's the one that you can ingest or you can put it on your skin. It feels great. And that's the longevity pack. You guys have seen the shows that I've done with Kurt and Kristen over there at Pet Club, and the stuff is phenomenal, folks. every single one of you that has taken a chance on this has come back and told me either in the chat, in comments, emails, or letters how much it's been great for you and your pets. And I just want to say, make sure the world knows about it. So with that, I've pumped them up enough. Here is a commercial, and we'll be back and we'll continue on with the themes, and it'll be the Lindsey Graham section.
Science proves that a healthy immune system is the body's first defense against the smallest of ailments to the most catastrophic. Coriolus versicolor is the most sought-after, all-natural supplement for both humans and pets to help boost the immune system. There are over 400 studies worldwide on its effectiveness in humans, including Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, MD Anderson Cancer Center, and now from the University of Pennsylvania School of Veterinary Medicine. Together, we can help reverse this terrible tide now plaguing your loved ones and give them the immune-boosting supplements that they need.
Got a text message from the missus saying, you aren't going anywhere. Listen, I am a warrior, folks. If there is a war, that is where I belong with so many of you guys. So now let's get into Lindsey Graham. What the heck happened if you're gone over the last few days? Lindsey Graham is dead. Statement from the office of the U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham, Republican, South Carolina. The office of U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham released the following statement. On the evening of Saturday, July 11th, U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham passed away from a brief and sudden illness. Senator Graham's family appreciates prayers at this time and asks for privacy during this incredibly difficult period. And I would imagine for the family that this is something that's incredibly difficult. So let's get into a couple of these stories. Tyler Bauer puts out, I'm not sure how a guy goes from visiting a drone production facility in Ukraine to suddenly dying. Seems like important context. And he's right. And I'm going to keep flying through these so we can get the full picture here. MJ Truth puts, remember Lindsey Graham and John McCain visited Ukraine in December of 2016 and came back screaming Russia interfered with the 2016 presidential election? You know what they say, every dog has its day. Let's take a listen to this. I believe I do have this clip for you guys. I do. Here we go.
I admire the fact that you will fight for your homeland. Your fight is our fight. 2017 will be the year of offense. All of us will go back to Washington and we will push the case against Russia.
Ми всі повернемося до Вашингтону і ми будемо відстоювати санкції проти Росії.
Enough of a Russian aggression.
Досить вже російської агресії.
It is time for them to pay a heavier price.
Час вже щоб вони заплатили важчу ціну.
Our fight is not with the Russian people but with Putin.
Ми боремося не з російським народом, але з Путіним.
Our promise to you is to take your cause to Washington.
Наша обіцянка це те, що ми вашу боротьбу доведемо до Вашингтона.
Inform the American people of your bravery.
Проінформуємо американський народ про вашу відважність.
And make the case against Putin to the world.
І покажемо про докази проти Путіна усьому світу.
I believe you will win. I am convinced you will win, and we will do everything we can to provide you with what you need to win.
Я вірю в те, що ви виграєте, переможете. Я переконаний в тому, що ви переможете, і ми вам допоможемо всіма можливими засобами.
And we have succeeded not because of equipment, but because of your courage.
Ви успішні не через обладнання, але через вашу відважність.
So I thank you, and the world is watching. And the world is watching because we cannot allow Vladimir Putin to succeed here. Because if he succeeds here, he will succeed in other countries.
Я вам дуже дякую. І весь світ за цим слідкує. І весь світ за цим слідкує, тому що ми не можемо дозволити Володимиру Путіну тут перемогти. Адже якщо він тут переможе, він зможе це зробити і в інших країнах.
Це те ж саме гільзи з ворожих БМП, які розмальовані художництвом Бердянська.
З Новим роком, дорогі мої!
So I want you guys to consider this, okay? Whether you're someone who like Lindsey Graham because he was a Republican, or whether you're someone that didn't, here's a fact that nobody can argue, whether you like him or you don't. The guy was a neocon. He was a war hawk. Nobody can argue that. Now, whether you want to say he played a role or he didn't play a role, that's everybody's entitled to their perspective on that. But the one thing that is clear here is we know John McCain is a piece, right? We know he's a POS. We know he's a traitor. And look at the proximity that these guys had to each other during these times. And I get it. I'm the one that always speaks, about going deep undercover and all that. That's what it would look like. I understand that. But given the circumstances, especially surrounding his death, it's suspect. So let's get to a few more of these before I provide you guys my insight. And if you watched last night's show, you kind of have already a take on where my position is. DC Drano puts, whoa, Lindsey Graham told Trump last night that voter ID was now going to be passed. Dead that same day. Here's a video clip from Chief Nerd. Sorry about that. Let me hit play for you guys.
President Trump, thank you for joining us, and my condolences to you.
Well, thank you. He's a tough one to lose. He was great. He was unique in every way, actually.
He was, Mr. President, and I know that we are all just absorbing this news. We are all in shock. Can you tell us, Mr. President, how you received this news and your immediate gut reaction when you heard it?
So what makes it even stranger is that I got a call last night sometime at, the early evening, maybe in the 7s, and he called and he said, we're all set for the Save America Act. He was pushing the Save America Act like crazy. He got back, said he just landed from Ukraine. I said, that's a long trip to make. He said, he sounded a little tired, but perfect, but a little bit tired. Had a right to be. And he was a worker. He was really a worker, but he sounded great, actually. But he actually said he was tired. But he wanted to pass the Save America Act. And I said, well, we're going to get it done, Lindsey. We're going to get it done. I'll see you soon. We thought maybe we might even meet today. And then that was it. And that was, very around the time. It couldn't have been much longer. It could have been his last call. I don't know exactly. But I got a message about 1 o'clock in the morning from one of the people at his office that he had passed away. I said, I just can't believe it. He was like a member of the family to me. It's very tough, actually. It's amazing.
Mr. President,
he was such an advocate. He was, if he wanted to get something, and he had a unique ability. He was able to deal with Democrats and Republicans. If I had a problem, a real problem, I wouldn't often ask. But if I had a problem with a Democrat, he could work it out. He was a great politician, actually.
So, again, a few more things. I don't want to get ahead of this segment, but look at the tie. I said this last night. I said this over the last 2 days that it's been already. Lindsey Graham and Thune were homies, and we know Thune is completely against the Save America Act. So I find it very interesting that Trump is saying that Lindsey Graham was a huge proponent to push the Save America Act, because that means he would be in contrast to his homie on the Senate floor. Again, was Lindsey Graham captured? Was Lindsey Graham the secret weapon that President Trump and Matt Gaetz talked about last year? And this was him flipping against the neocons. This was him flipping against the deep state's military-industrial complex. I'm very open to that. And I'll kind of give you guys a potential of what I think may have happened. We'll see. But let's just keep going. FBI rapid response. What does that have to do with this? Just hear me out. This is a complete and total lie, but we would expect nothing less than a failing outlet trying to get clicks, talking about MS Now. The director was never on the tarmac, number one. Number 2, multiple official FBI visits were planned in Chicago. And number 3, called to the White House for official business. You liars will find out soon. MS Now had reported Kash Patel called to White House on heels of continued questions over his behavior. The embattled FBI director was set to travel to Chicago in the bureau's jet to see his girlfriend perform at a music festival when he was called in, sources tell MS Now. Now, why the sudden call back to the White House? Well, this lines up absolutely with the potential if Lindsey Graham didn't die at home. If he was killed while visiting a drone facility in Ukraine, I'll get into a theory there, or if he sustained injuries during that and maybe died on the flight home. All these are potentials. But why would they want to kill him? Because this is the interesting thing. We know that the FBI went to Lindsey Graham's home to investigate his death. That's kind of interesting. Again, we're trying to see if the FBI also went and did an investigation on the airplane. That can kind of provide some insight to some of these things. I am definitely have some people that are keeping tabs on any FBI planes that are, or personnel that will be heading out to Ukraine. These are all things that we're going to be monitoring. What I will say, and me and Josh will talk about this tomorrow night in depth, because I don't want to go too far down something when I'm waiting for some information to come in. But if Lindsey Graham, this ties into something we're going to be talking about at the end of the show too. So I'm going to be vague here, but at the end of the show, I'll provide more clarity to the part I'm being vague on right now. If Lindsey Graham went to Ukraine because he was going to be given something and he was returning back with that something, and he was killed because somebody was trying to get that something, this scenario starts to look a little bit different. At the end of the show tonight, I'll again provide a little bit more of insight on what this can be. And then tomorrow night, we will definitely talk about this at length, because by then we'll have either gotten, you guys are completely wrong, barking up the wrong tree, or we can't tell you if you're right or wrong, which means that we're definitely on the right azimuth. So again, I'll provide a little bit more at the end of the show tonight, and then definitely tomorrow night, we'll be discussing this at length. But the FBI being called back kind of insinuates that maybe this wasn't just some natural cause because he had an issue with his heart and the valve, tore, giving him instant death as a result. MJ Truth puts President Trump. This is regarding Lindsey Graham's replacement. I have somebody I like to replace Lindsey Graham, but I'm not going to tell you. I thought Lindsey would live forever. I said, Lindsey, you're not going to live. Or I'm sorry. I said, Lindsey, you're going to live forever. And he was going to have a big victory, and he was scheduled to win by a lot. But now he's got this. And let me hit play on this one.
Governor. So they have a great governor, and he's going to make a good decision. But ultimately, it's going to be an election pretty soon. As I understand the rules, every state is different. But ultimately, they'll have an election. They'll have some people joining. Some are good, some are bad. And but I have somebody that I like, but I'm not going to tell you who now because it's too soon.
All right, fair enough. We will.
I never thought I'd be in this position.
Yeah.
I thought Lindsey was going to be living forever. I said, Lindsey, you're going to live forever. And he was going to have a big victory. He was scheduled to win by a lot. He had my support, and he was going to win by a lot. He was going to have one of his best elections ever, and now he's got this. Terrible.
Now, is it me? Let me know in the chat and in the comments, especially if you're watching the replay. Does it seem like he's just being, I just, knowing how Trump talks, we know he uses words like bigly, and we know that he exaggerates. But the vibe I pick up, and again, maybe I have a bias because of my perspective here, but the vibe I'm picking up is like he's being sarcastic. Like he's telling the deep state, y'all thought your boy was going to do something. Y'all thought he was going to be around forever. Y'all thought he was going to win. And he's not. He's gone. I don't know how to read it in which direction. I just know there's something to be read in the way he's presenting it. Again, I just don't know if he's providing flowers to Lindsey, because again, Lindsey was doing something on his behalf, whether it was because they leveraged him or because he was always a good guy. Definitely could be. Or whether he's being sarcastic because he is trying to let the deep state know, I got your boy. What? Your boy John McCain's gone, and now your boy Lindsey Grant, Ladybug Lindsey, is gone. What? Like I said, there's a there. But my bias has me see it away. But I am very open to both of those. So I'm very curious to your guys' take on that, on Trump's statements there. Or am I tripping? Don't listen, you guys know me. Don't be afraid to tell me now you're tripping, boss. Like, that ain't the case. I'm just going to block you and you won't ever be able to watch the show again. That's the only thing. I'm just kidding. I'm not. Maybe. Try it. We'll see. Sacrifice, right? First person to pass the cop on the freeway before everybody speeds, be that guy. So Eric Dowry then puts, just in, for those of you wondering who Trump's pick was that he said he wasn't going to say on the what was it, the 11th or the 12th when he made that statement, but now we do know. Just in, Lindsey Graham's sister, Darlene, has just been named a U.S. Senator interim by South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster, a move supported by President Trump. She agreed to serve through tears. Trump, this would be a fabulous tribute to Lindsey, who loved her dearly. And I have this clip for you guys. It's a short one.
In years long departed, it's my honor to ask his little sister, Darlene Graham, to finish his work for him now. And by the way, Darlene, I don't know if I told you, but after we spoke on the phone in the wee hours of Sunday morning, and you agreed to serve through tears, earlier, I had wondered what you would say.
Of course, that's moving. Whether a person's a good person or a bad person, their actions, you can't judge people's family for that. So whether Lindsey was good or bad, his sister just lost her brother, and that's hard. And so my heart does go out to her, to fulfill the steps of her brother. Again, whatever the case may be. And again, it's a position that Trump supports. So I imagine that Trump is going to utilize her to push the Save America Act. That is clearly going to be something that she's going to do during her interim. And then we'll see when the special election comes out. Does this go down the route of Nancy Mace? Does Governor McMaster come and step that, since he's going to time out as governor? It's going to be very interesting to see what happens in South Carolina. Or my boy, Chad. All right, Chad, if you're watching this, someone clip this part and tag Chad. Chad, why aren't you running? We said it on SitRep. A lot of people have asked. Graham's out of the way. Chad Caton, baby. I'm fired up. You guys go and start tagging them. Say, we want Chad. Run for senator. Be a part of it. I'm just saying, I'm going to get him on the show and put him on the spot. That's what I'm going to do. And then finally, to close up this one, and then we'll shift gears a little bit. Eric Dougherty puts again, update. Scott Jennings says Senator Mitch McConnell, hospitalized, called him and that they had a 17-minute long conversation. Is everybody now read in? No, of course not. So are people really having 17-minute long conversations, or are people trying to captivate a certain audience that pays attention to that number? I don't know. You decide. Voice sounded strong. Sounded like he was keeping up with the news. He said he was feeling okay, well enough to call me and talk to Barrasso and Thune. Imagine that. I think I do have this clip for you guys right here. Let me just check. I hope I do. Yes, I do. All right, here we go.
He called me this morning before I did my radio show. We talked for about 17 minutes. He talked a lot about the situation with Iran. Talked a little bit about Ukraine and what's going on in Europe. I told him I'd been to the Teddy Roosevelt Library. We talked a little bit about the history of the vice presidency and how Roosevelt had transformed that in the modern presidency. A little history of the Senate. It was a wide-ranging conversation. I talked to him often. I hadn't talked to him since he'd been in. I'd gotten a few text messages from him, but I hadn't spoken to him. So it was good to hear his voice. Voice sounded strong and sounded like he was keeping up with the news to me.
Did you ask him how he was feeling?
Yeah, he said he was feeling okay, obviously well enough to call me on the phone, and obviously well enough to talk to Barrasso and Thune. Now, look, I'm not qualified to discuss any medical issues or give you any information about that. That's really for him or his staff to do. But, you know, I talk to him from time to time, and I see him from time to time. And, you know, we had a conversation today about the things that we normally talk about, which are news of the day, political stuff.
Did you come away feeling like he's still capable of serving the people of Kentucky as senator?
I came away feeling that he was staying on top of the news. Again, look, his condition and why he's in the hospital or when he might come out, or look, that's.
Do you know why, and are just saying it's not at liberty to share?
I do not know why. I only know, frankly, what has been reported or what his office has said.
Talk about sounding uncomfortable in relaying that information. Scott Jennings definitely sounded uncomfortable. You guys let me know if you buy it. Again, 17-minute conversation. That's something. You guys have seen the proof of life photo that's out there. Here's my thing. All right. And again, some people would argue he doesn't have to. Yes, he does. He's a government official who has constituents that he represents. So yes, he does have to do something to show that he is alive. Like, this is not an unreasonable request by the American people. We don't want to see a photo. If you're in the hospital and you're sick, okay, you're human. We understand that. You're up in age. We understand that. But why can't his office provide a video where he says, hey, folks, what happened? You know, my medical condition is something private to me and my family, but I am aware my team is keeping me up to speed on what's going on, and I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be here for as long as the doctors need me, and then I'll come out in a week or so, and then I'll go back to work, business as usual. That would satisfy the public. It's a video, right? But he hasn't done that. So, do I think that Mitch McConnell is dead? I don't think he's dead. I just think his medical condition is far worse than what Scott Jennings is putting out. I mean, folks, look at the videos we do have from the last few months. The dude is weekend at Bernie's. Even when he was walking, the guy didn't look like he was in good shape. Can you imagine now that he's in the hospital? I'm not buying it. And again, there's an issue going on with the Senate. You know, that 53-49, I believe, is our lead. You know, we lose Lindsey Graham. Yes, there's the interim. But if Mitch McConnell goes out, then we're down to like, what, 51? You know, and of course, it just, things start to get iffy, right? But you guys let me know what you guys think. Is Mitch McConnell alive, or is Mitch McConnell dead? And we're living through weekend at Bernie's. If you're my age, you know exactly what movie I'm talking about. Let me know in the comments so I can check it out. And just so everybody knows, yes, I see the Rumble Rants coming in at the tail end of the show. We will get into the Rumble Rants when I close this out with prayer. And any super chats that come in, I'll make sure to address those as well. So next on deck, this woman has been doing the Lord's work when it comes to her position. It's official. Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon is dispatching election monitors to 15 jurisdictions across 6 states for the coming 2026 primaries to prevent fraud, cheating, and fair access to voting under federal law. Those states are Arizona, Michigan, Massachusetts, Minnesota, New Hampshire, and Virginia. And we're sending the monitors into cities and counties where there may have been some problems in recent elections. Thank you, Harmeet Dillon. Enforcing existing law, plus the Senate would swiftly pass the Save America Act. And I do have this clip for you right here. Here we go.
In 2026, in this upcoming primary season, the United States Department of Justice Civil Rights Division, as it has done for decades, is this year sending election monitors into 15 different jurisdictions in 6 states. And those states are Arizona, Michigan, Massachusetts, Minnesota, New Hampshire, and Virginia. And we're sending the monitors into cities and counties where there may have been some problems in the recent elections. And so this is something that DOJ does routinely. So for example, in 2022, in the primary season, there were 9 jurisdictions in which the prior administration sent election monitors during the primaries. In 2024, similarly, there were, in that election, 27 different jurisdictions monitored by the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division. So this year, we're kind of in the middle of that with our 15. And what we hope to do here is increase voter confidence, make sure there are no language barriers or access to voting for Americans with disabilities, or sort of failure to make sure that the polling places are open correctly for the amount of time necessary, and that everyone has appropriate access to vote who should be allowed to vote. So this is an important goal that increases voter confidence, exercise of our oversight duty and our enforcement duty to enforce the Help America Vote Act, the National Voter Registration Act, the Voting Rights Act, a very important statute, and other civil rights statutes like the Civil Rights Act of 1960. So I'm proud to be helping organize this effort and send those monitors to help increase all citizens' confidence in the outcome of our elections. And stay tuned as we get towards the general election, where there'll be an even more expanded program for vote monitors, as DOJ has done for decades in our great nation. Thank you.
The Save America Act. Everybody wants it. Everybody is it, including Democrats. 87% of Democrats want it. Not the leaders, because they want to cheat. Their policy is so bad, they're unelectable.
I'm telling you, folks, I saw someone in the chat says there's not going to be an election. There will be an election. Is there a likelihood that there could be a national emergency where it's delayed? Could be, but there's going to be an election. That's what our Constitution calls for. And Trump would never, ever make us not have one, because then we absolutely would go into a revolution. This is why I disagree with some of my counterparts that think there won't be an election. There absolutely is. Do I think the Save America Act is going to pass? Absolutely not. And I think Trump understands that. I think that's why he's pushed it so hard. You guys have watched the show enough to know my position. And again, when we get to that tail end of tonight, I'll cover that briefly. Pete Santilli puts out, Pete Santilli's been on fire. He says, Trump just vetoed a housing bill because the Senate won't pass what Republicans actually want. Wild move, but honestly, I respect it. Sometimes you got to use leverage you have. The SAVE Act is polling so high on both sides of the fence. Why pass the stuff if they won't pass yours? 100%.
Social writing this in part, quote now, I'll read half of it for you. I will not sign the housing bill, which has been fully approved by Congress and sent to the White House in protest over the fact that the United States Senate is not capable of passing the Save America Act, which is polling at 97% with the Republican Party and very high with the non-politician Democrats, he writes. The act states quite simply that the voter person must show photo voter ID, proof of citizenship, and that there will be no more crooked, corrupt, and destabilizing mail-in ballots, exceptions for military, disabled, illness, and travel. The Save America Act's non-passage is crazy and a serious threat to any politician who votes against it. He goes on in the second half of that post to talk about the Democrats getting rid of the filibuster in the Senate if and when they take control. So that's just off True Social.
Oh, hell yeah, they'll get rid of the filibuster and they'll stack the Supreme Court. We'll definitely be in the fight for our lives. Check this out. Again, for everybody out there, we are making some nice ground and we're gaining leverage in places where people didn't think possible. Check this out. Election Time puts out, this is not a joke. Republican Christine Drazan leads incumbent governor Tina Kotek in a solid blue Oregon 2026 governor race. Christine Drazan, the Republican, up by 4 points. Kotek defeated Drazan by merely 3% in 2022, and polling shows his 2026 rematch will be just as close. Oregon is now a potential pickup for the GOP as November nears. Public Opinion Strategies, June 22nd, 24, 2026, with the 600 RV, more polls at Polls Max. Whether you are someone who follows the polls or don't, some of them are bad, some of them are good. I'm with you on that. I wouldn't argue those points. But again, this is the information that the normies, right? The people that are operating off the surface level information, this is what they're seeing. And the narrative that is probably most important is the narrative that has been positioned for the normies, right? Not the one for us, right? As much as we want it to be. The one narrative that is the most important because it has the biggest audience is the normie narrative. And right now the normies are being told that the incumbent Democrat is getting their ass kicked by a Republican in Oregon. This is one of those things that shows trends. So then you get neighboring states that if there's all of a sudden a Republican that starts to gain ground, it seems believable. Again, it's narrative. So shifting gears a little bit again, Julie Donuts comes out and says, these next 4 months are the most critical time in this war. The Luciferian bloodline families are being dismantled step by step by the U.S. military and Commander-in-Chief Donald J. Trump. We, the people, are awakening, rising, and reclaiming our nation. Stay vigilant, stay prepared, pray without ceasing, be ready for anything the enemy throws in their desperation. Declas is here. Full exposure is coming. The 2020 election fraud is being torn open for the world to see. Justice comes last. Justice at last. Hold the line, patriots. The storm is here. God wins. Here comes the booms. Enjoy this little video. I was rocking out. Here comes the boom, baby. How does that one not fire you up? It does, absolutely. Let's fly through these because I want to make sure we get down here on time. Data Republican, small r, says, wow. She's referring to Cernovich, who put out, Anthropic is giving left-wing NGOs free access to its tools to target conservatives and MAGA. This company is completely out of control and is now waging war against every Trump voter. Again, folks, this stuff, the reason it's coming to the surface, and this is why I disagree with some of my counterparts who just want to say it's all fake and gay, retarded, right? And why? Because that creates a static mentality. We need actionable mentalities. We need proactive measures taken. And when we get people who are actively involved, who are out there voting, who are out there getting people to vote, who are out there registering people to vote, when this happens, eyes are on the target. When eyes are on the target, that means the bad guys have to do things outside of their normal operating procedures, which then creates anomalies. Anomalies allow us to recognize things. When we recognize things, it amplifies everything I just talked about because that grows. As that grows, this becomes a circular firing squad for the deep state because now they got to cheat more because there's more people that are actively involved. Now these anomalies become even more significant. And you see all the pile of shit starts to get to the point where it stinks so bad, nobody can deny that there is shit in the street. And now something has to be done about it because now it's irrefutable to everybody. It's something that reaches every demographic. The people that are asleep, the people that are awake, the people that were awake and then went back to sleep. It becomes something that people can't ignore anymore. During this process, and one of the ways that you know you're getting to the tail end of the process is when the bad guy no longer operates in secrecy. This is one of the things that you know that you're hot on the tail of the bad guy, right? If you've ever followed spy novels, if you've ever watched, First 48, if you're someone who's worked law enforcement investigations, you know that as you start to tighten the noose on the suspect, they start to get sloppy because time starts to put pressure on them. This is that fatal funnel. This is that choke point that I've been talking about. And when people have to start operating sloppy, this kind of stuff comes to the surface, folks. Today, we're announcing Claude Corps, a $150 million program that places 1,000 early career fellows at 300 plus nonprofits around the U.S. Our data indicates the early career ladder is softening while thousands of under-resourced nonprofits are looking for support to safely use AI for their missions. Claude Corps is an initial effort to help address these needs. We are building this program and platform to be scaled and open source, especially as evidence comes in that it works for both fellows and host organizations. Grateful to CodePath and Social Finance for partnering with us on this ambitious effort. On a personal note, initiatives like Claude Corps are why I joined Anthropic. We are heading towards an important moment in the AI transition, so it's energizing to take actions in ways that align our values as a public benefit corporation. Please encourage those in your network to apply. Early career talent over 18 years old, yada, yada, yada. This is the stuff that people need to see, folks. And again, you are seeing it. So this is what's going to make some of the stuff that Trump's going to talk about on Thursday This is what's going to reinforce that conversation. Because if what I'm hearing is correct, and if my assessment, which we're going to get to here very soon on Thursday's conversation, is correct, that is going to be one of the final steps before the big step unfolds that I've been talking about the last few weeks. Let's see. Web Slinger in the chat says he's waving. Hey, Alpha, where is Maxine Waters? That's a good question. Where the hell has been Maxine? You know, she's not. She's probably out there telling people to harass the Supreme Court justices while they're at restaurants. And then we get this bad boy. MJ Truth says, read the highlighted portion. Most people missed this or never understood what Trump did with the Fed and the Treasury. This scheme essentially merges the Fed and the Treasury into one organization. So meet your new Fed chairman, Donald J. Trump, Yahoo Finance. And it says Fox News BlackRock CEO Larry Fink worried about NYC under Mondani floats investing elsewhere under weakened conditions. And then right here it says the Fed hired BlackRock Incorporated, owner, the Treasury. In other words, the federal government is nationalizing large swaths of financial markets. The Fed is providing the money to do it. BlackRock will be doing the trades. Jim concluded this scheme essentially merges the Fed and Treasury into one organization. So meet your new Fed chairman, Donald J. Trump. Kind of awesome if these things are pretty accurate. Let's keep going. Brianna Morello puts out, just then, Senator Chuck Grassley released messages showing that Biden's DOJ personnel, including staff assigned to Jack Smith's special counsel office. I'm about to tell you guys something that nobody is talking about. I'm going to be very careful how I explain this. So let me just start this over since I broke the thought. Senator Chuck Grassley released messages showing that Biden DOJ personnel, including staff assigned to Jack Smith's special counsel office, may have mishandled classified material while Smith was prosecuting President Trump for the exact same offense. Officials could not account for the movement of classified materials. Accessed by SCO staff working inside the Justice Department's sensitive compartmented information facility, a SCIF. A clear violation occurred when a SCIF accessible to the SCO personnel was left unsecured and open for at least one night and possibly longer. Here are some examples. Now, again, is Jack Smith or someone within his immediate group going to be in trouble for this? I'd imagine so. I'd also imagine that the reason they know about this is because somebody's already talking. And that's how they were able to narrow this down. Or that's how they probably had information to corroborate that this door was left open. Because obviously it wasn't left open. Well, I shouldn't say obviously, but from what we know, it wasn't left open indefinitely. So obviously somebody had to provide the information on the time frame that this occurred. And then you go and based off logs, you know what kind of information existed at the time in the SCIF during that, which again, I'm not going to get ahead of that. The point being is Jack Smith is under the spotlight. They are investigating him. And what we can deduct from this information here, there's other information, but at least from this, based off the facts of this report, what we can make an educated assumption is that there's somebody that is talking within close proximity to Jack Smith. That being said, there are potentially other investigations that are involving Jack Smith and other judges and other attorneys with victims of human trafficking. And what I potentially am understanding here is that we can ultimately see indictments or investigations on Jack Smith tied to human trafficking. That is information that I'll just say that is my opinion based off of information that I am hearing. I think I dotted my I's and crossed my T's safely there. Then we get to Paul Sperry. Breaking just declassified messages reveal an assistant to special counsel Jack Smith violated SCIF security procedures and others on his team mishandled classified information while prosecuting President Trump for allegedly mishandling classified information in 2023 to 2024. This is yet another example of law enforcement's double standards in the previous administration, said Senate Judiciary Chair Grassley, who uncovered the new records. Let's keep going. I'm doing good on time here. We're under the 2-hour mark, and I'm very happy about where we're at right now. Perhaps this is the reason. With that said, another a thorough check while at Mendenhall Air Force Base is probably prudent. And so this story talks, and we're talking about Trump. This is a story you guys have heard over the weekend. Trump goes, all of a sudden, he says, hey, not going to be flying over to Turkey in the new Air Force One. We're going to be flying in the old Air Force One. So this is where we're going with that. But let's just kind of see how this story unfolded in the beginning. So July the 8th, Trump puts out, to honor our brave men and women of the military, we are sending the brand new and truly spectacular Air Force One to Mendenhall Air Force Base in the United Kingdom to give them a chance to tour the aircraft. Everybody is so excited, and we thought that they should be the first. For old time's sake, we'll be taking the former Air Force One from Turkey to Mendenhall, a short trip that is totally worth doing in order to give our great military heroes a chance to appreciate our beautiful new addition to the Air Force fleet, President Donald J. Trump. Then it takes us to this conversation. Rapid Response 47 puts this out. Were you aware of any credible threat by Iran to Air Force One? So let's listen to Trump.
What was the security concern that caused us to change planes?
We sent this one in so that the Air Force Base here was in the same exact line. So you saw, did you see the picture?
We did.
Hundreds of pictures, hundreds of people. Let me see that. You can't see it too well, but there are hundreds of people out there. So they wanted to see, so they came a little bit early and we switched planes.
So you're saying there wasn't a security concern?
No. Why would there?
Any other issue? No issue?
No, except we sent it a little early. Same line going back. We sent it a little bit early so that we could let them see it. The whole base came out and saw the plane, and then we landed.
Do you know why they had us close our window blinds? That was not usual.
Well, yeah, because you're probably on a dangerous flight because of the sleazebags that we have to deal with.
So you think that Iran was possibly thinking of trying
Well, I mean, if they asked you to close your windows, probably they'd feel that way. They didn't ask me to close mine, but if they did, I would have done it. You know, these are sick people, so I could see something like that. I didn't know they did that, but I could see something like that.
Were you aware of any credible threat by Iran against Air Force
Well, I have
One?
a threat all the time. I'm number one on their list before you. But if I go, you go. Right?
But was there a specific
So
threat today?
perhaps someday you want to change professions.
Now, something interesting says they both went down the same line. It's like he's talking shit to the deep state, saying, you think you had it. So what we have since learned, right, is that there was some type of mechanical issue with the anti-air or the air defense systems that are on the new Air Force One. And these things were fixed. Now, here's the part that's interesting. While they were en route to the location is when they determined this. So the old Air Force One was called up to start heading that direction before they even landed on all these things unfolded. So this was, how did they learn? We don't know, right? There's different speculation and rumors that are out there. But the thing is that we do know is they learned during mid-flight that there was an issue with the defense systems on this new plane. Then we hear Trump saying, we took the same line. The same line that the other one's going to go to. So it's almost like he is either baiting or just talking trash to the deep state. But then we get to the part where he's like, but there was no threat. There's no threat. But then they're like, well, we closed the windows. Well, maybe because there's some bad guys out there. So there is a threat. I mean, this is the comedy of the way Trump just keeps the media's heads spinning. But what I will say is, when you look at everything that just kind of happened in the last 4 days, right? When you look at the switching of airplanes, when you look at the defense system on the New Air Force One going down, you look at Lindsey Graham going to Ukraine, Lindsey Graham dying, the information, I think it's fair to think or assume, was there information that came in that something on the new Air Force One was either a tracking device, so somebody would fire a ground missile and it would be able to track the new Air Force One despite its countermeasures because there was a specific tracking device on it? Was it something where the defense systems were going to be inoperable, so they couldn't deploy countermeasures to something being fired at it? We don't know, but we know that it was significant enough that they put them on a different plane. If they did, that could be a ploy too. And this goes into leak operations, but that's for tomorrow's show, so I'm not going to get ahead of it. But let's keep going. August the 17th, love this Anon. They do great work. Says, alert, threat of assassination on Trump. Trump received, by his own words, 2 lists from the intel agencies, and he's number 1 on those kill lists. The threat comes from Iran. He also said he won't be traveling back home in Air Force One. Air Force One will stay in Europe, and it's going to be sent to 2 or 3 military bases within the EU. Let the speculations on why Air Force One is really staying behind begin. Take a listen.
Stephen Nelson from the New York Post. I'd like you to address speculation that you're leaving Ankara not in the new Air Force One because of security concerns involving Iran. You've spoken today twice about them possibly assassinating you and possibly being successful. Did that concern have something to do with it?
Well, I speak about it a lot because, you know, the life of a president is very dangerous. It's 5.2%. You know what a race car driver is? 1/10 of 1%. A bull rider, that looks pretty dangerous to me. It's 1/10 of 1%. No, it's 5.2% is you don't make it. You should have told me. You're an excellent reporter. You should have told me that years ago. Maybe I wouldn't have run. It's a very dangerous profession. No, I'm number 1 on the kill list for Iran. They're lovely people. I'm number 1. So I don't know. I can't tell you that, but I don't really care because I'm doing my job and I'm doing it, I hope, better than anybody's ever done it because we have a country that's hot and really, really successful. But I mention it only because it's on the list. I mean, it came out. There was another list came out yesterday, and I'm number 1 on. I like being number 1 on TikTok better, but I'm number 1 on the list for killing.
The president of the United States saying, "I'd rather be number 1 on TikTok." This guy is something else, folks. The last one, I'll give you guys my final thoughts on this part. Julie Donuts puts out President Trump's post. Wow, daddy's not playing. Thousands of missiles are locked and loaded and aimed at the Islamic Republic of Iran, with thousands of more to immediately follow should the Iranian government act on its threat pronounced in many corners of the globe to assassinate or attempt to assassinate the sitting president of the United States. In this case, me. Orders have been given and the U.S. military is ready, willing, and able for a 1-year period of time, subject to extension, to completely decimate and destroy all areas of Iran. Praise be to Allah, President Donald J. Trump. I kind of talked about it last night and to some other people that wanted my thoughts here. If you know that the neocons, the people that are just drooling at the mouth for World War III, for, the largest war that this world has ever seen, and Trump just baited them on how they can get that. Trump literally just said, hey, if you guys assassinate me, we're going to unleash let the dogs out. Like, that's what the military is going to do to Iran. That means the entire deep state military industrial complex went like this. What did he say? Wait, did he just say if they assassinate him, he's going to have the military go full send? Like we're going to work for a whole year? That means that all the bad guys probably started to go and push the people that they're tied to. And guess what? Trump tickled the wire. This is something I've been talking about for years. That comes back from investigations. When you have wires on people and people aren't talking and you need to get them to talk, you put out some bait out there. You put on some news that is going to generate that conversation, going to generate the reactions, and they're going to start talking. I believe this is what Trump did, especially because we ended up finding out that they came and said that the intel that allegedly came from Mossad or from the Israel intelligence apparatus was unreliable. So again, I think this was Trump baiting some of these neocons to come out and expose themselves. So with that, as we shift gears, I'm going to go to our last Rumble ad. So you're going to see a QR code populate on the screen if you're watching on Rumble. And we're going to give some love to the Rumble wallet, empowering voices and enabling transactions. We hear a lot about crypto, but here's the part most people miss. Crypto was created so that you could actually own and control your money. After the 2008 financial crisis, Bitcoin was designed as an alternative to banks. So instead of a bank holding your money, delaying transfers, or limiting access, you're in control. And if you've ever had to wait for a transfer to clear, you've felt that problem. Now, fast forward to today. Everybody's heard of crypto, but getting started still feels complicated. That's exactly why I use Rumble Wallet. It takes all the complexity and it makes it simple. Choose what you want: Bitcoin, dollar-backed stable coins, or even digital gold backed by real gold. No complicated setup. It connects with MoonPay so that you can use your credit card, debit card, or bank and be up and running in a few minutes. Once you're set up, you can even support your favorite Rumble creators like me directly. So do this right now, not later, right now. Scan the QR code or click the link in the description and download the Rumble Wallet. From there, you can set up your wallet, tap buy, and you're in the game. Voila. It's just a few minutes. So you can go from hearing about crypto to actually owning some. And then if you want to send some of them crypto tips this way, you can do that. Rumble gives you the option. So if you don't want to do your card, you slide the little thing over and you can use your Rumble wallet, and it's pretty cool. So let's get back into, as we start to bring this show into the landing. Katie Miller puts out, this was interesting. It didn't really fit into the theme of tonight's show, but it was something about it was like, I still want to make sure the audience knows about this. Something just stuck out to me. So I'm going to put it out so you guys can have it. Katie Miller, Stephen Miller's wife, put, Mark Zuckerberg hasn't posted since 2023. X is the global town square. This is where news happens. And Mark Zuckerberg puts on July the 9th, number 1. Today we're releasing Muse Spark 1.1, a strong agent and coding model at a very low price. It's available through our new Meta Model API and then Meta AI. I don't know. Maybe this is nothing. All right, maybe it's nothing. But if the dude hasn't posted on X, and Claire Cat, yes, Katie Miller, Stephen Miller's wife. If he hasn't posted since 2023 on X, this is back when it would have been Twitter, and now he is it just because he wants to market the Muse Spark? I mean, it could be. Is that a signal that everybody that's trying to say that X, formerly Twitter, is not insignificant, doesn't have a real audience? Well, if Zuckerberg is saying, hey, this is where I need to reach an audience, at a minimum, that's a pretty significant statement. Or was Mark Zuckerberg told that you're not going to post anything on X until you give us the signal for something? And the day that you post on X, you are now sending the signal. In other words, this is your emergency flare, or this is the flare that represents something. And when you post, doesn't matter what you post, but when you post, we know that you are now popping smoke. I don't know. It's just something about this one got my attention. I would love to know your guys' thoughts. Shout out 15 Tony Ba, BA, gifted a subscription over there on the AlphaWarrior Show. Thank you for that very much. And then we got this one, Revolver News. Clearly, the FBI's handling of Seth Richards' records is no longer a conspiracy theory. The Bureau once said it couldn't find anything related to Rich. Court proceedings proved that was a lie. Now it's time for Trump's FBI to set the record straight and be as transparent as humanly possible. Because the mystery surrounding the Seth Rich case has gone on for about a decade. His killer was never caught. Julian Assange raised a lot of questions he never answered, and the government has never been remotely truthful about the records it had. Seth Rich has re-entered the conversation, folks. And you guys know my thought process on my speculation, my theory of former Metropolitan Police Department officer Michael Fanone, and the way that played out with J6. You guys can go watch. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you have to go watch some of the old Just Alphas. I'm not going to make the audience hear this again. So now let's get into some of the interesting comms and potential messages that are out there. Ripcord puts out, Ripcord's another great one. President Trump reposts a picture of a boom. Here comes the boom at 10:43 p.m. Eastern Time. Q post 1231, dated April 21st of 2018. What will next week hold? Moab. And there you have it. So we're now in that week. And why is this important? Because Thursday, Trump is going to address the nation. Following day is the 17th, too, which, I mean, just saying. This post seems to have foretold the future pretty accurately if Trump drops a boom on Thursday night. And I know a lot of people always talk about rug pulls. It's going to be a rug pull. And it could be. But some of the information that's coming, and it's coming from some people that are very reliable because they have a lot of hesitation in sharing it. It sounds like something's coming down the chain, and we're almost there. Come on, Alpha. You're holding us on. I am. I'm trying to get you to make sure you stay to the end of the show. But again, I think I'm doing a good job of giving you guys some good info. So let's fly through these really fast. Dan Scavino puts out a 15-second clip. Trump waving from the old Air Force One on July 8th on this one. But it's a 15-second clip. So let's go to post 15. And what does it say? Let me zoom in on this one just to make it easier for you guys all to see. I think that's big enough. These highlights are from an old show that I did, but is there relevancy here? There are more good people than bad. The wizards and the warlocks, inside term, will not allow another satanic evil POS control our country. Realize Soros, Clinton's, Obama, Putin, etc. are all controlled by three families. The fourth was removed post-Trump's victory. 11.3, Podesta indicted. 11.6, Huma indicted. Manafort was placed into Trump's camp as well as others. The corruption that will come out is so serious that deals must be cut for people to walk away. Otherwise, 70% of elected politicians would be in jail. You are seeing it already begin. A deep cleaning is occurring, and the prevention and defense of pure evil is occurring on a daily basis. They never thought that they were going to lose control of the presidency, not just the D's, and thought that they had control since making past mistakes. JFK and Reagan. Godspeed, Patriots. P.S. Soros is targeted. And who's been in the headlines recently? Soros. What's coming on Thursday? The president addressing the nation, amongst some other things. This is quite significant, folks. Department of War puts out this. What do you see behind them? The Pentagon. We're going to get into this in a second. If I don't have it here, I'll bring in the post that I did today. No distractions, only lethality. Locked in. Stay locked in, Patriots. Again, this post would have been at 12:32, 1:32, 2:32, or 14:32 military time. So when we go to post 14:32, it brings us to this one. Finally, be strong in the Lord and his mighty power. Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For the struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Therefore, put on the full armor of God so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground. And after you have done everything to stand firm then with the belt of truth buckled around your waist, with the breastplate of righteousness in place, and with your feet fitted with the readiness that comes from the gospel of peace. In addition to all this, take up the shield of faith with which you can extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one. Take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, and pray in the Spirit on all occasions with all kinds of prayers and requests. With this in mind, be alert and always keep on praying for all the saints. Ephesians 6, verses 10 to 18. And then, of course, one of the most famous verses from 1 Corinthians, love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it is not rude, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. Pretty powerful one. I like that one a whole lot. This was me researching those. If we go to the dates of this, and there was 3 that I lined up here. There was 32 posts. Actually, let me go back so you guys can see that. There's 32 posts, from July the 8th. But these three just resonated with me. There's a lot in there that you could probably find context to, but these were the three that I chose to share with us tonight. This is the first one. This is post 3354 for those of you that want to see it on your own. Storm has arrived. Just because the public is unaware of something does not mean nothing is happening. This is something that I think a lot of us have to be reminded about. We've become so jaded with people who have abused trust the plan and with people that have tried to shit on trust the plan. We have been so jaded by people that have tried to abuse the Q movement and people that have tried to shit on the Q movement. And it's come from both sides, from those that hate it, those that said that they support it, and definitely those that are jealous of it. And a lot of people have weaponized the fact that here's the truth, folks. There are a lot of things that we are never going to be vindicated on because it's an operation. So just remember this sentence. Just because the public is unaware of something does not mean nothing is happening. Then I want to slide down here. Hunters become to hunted. God wins. And then I want to shift over to this one. Welcome back, Q. So good to see you. Are you returning publicly again now? Was the question. And then right here, post 3355. The time has come to re-enter the public domain. And again, we've been talking about this a lot in the recent weeks, given the Department of Energy and CTO and all them coming out posting Q dominance and the White House coming out and posting Q. Like, this is something that we have revisited. And again, this is something that I absolutely see context to. And again, we'll see what kind of hints and codes Trump puts out this Thursday. And we'll wrap up this part with this post 3382, July 8th. My turn. Sweet dreams. He's the man, folks. And then we get Department of War CTO says, never lose focus, Patriot. Stay locked in. Hold the line. Now, something interesting. I said hold the line at the beginning of the show today, and some of you were like, if you're watching on Rumble, Rumble has hold the line in the title. If you're watching on some of the other platforms, hold the line was replaced with special broadcasts. There are some platforms, I'm not going to say which ones, but there are some platforms, you guys can do the deduction here, right, that would not let me put hold the line in the title. So if you're watching on a platform, I'm not going to say which one, that has special broadcasts at the beginning of the title, they would not let me put the term hold the line. I found that just fascinating. I'm telling you, I tried all kinds of things. I accidentally touched a character, and it was not the case. I changed other things in the title. It would not accept it until I removed that part and again replace it with special broadcast, and then they accepted it. So just interesting. But again, hold the line. This is from July the 10th, and this would have been 10:13 a.m. So if we go to post 10:13, we get this one. Twitter clowns Operation Q. False drops, bot push, future conspiracy push to the norms, bad mixed with the good, taint, they are scared. And then if we go to hold the line, of course, we get one post that has that, and it's for September the 14th. Hold the line, riders. Justice is coming. And then we get this bad boy from the Department of War CTO, Summer of the Patriot. And then again, this is from July the 9th. This would have been 138, 238. This would have been 338 or 1538. And when we go to post 1538, public learned today. Why? What must be finished? Why still employed? Purpose, LP released after. PS will be released after. Just because something isn't public doesn't mean, and we just talked about that in the last post. So do I think that there is correlation here? Absolutely, given that they were both put out by the Department of CTO, and given the fact that the date delta and this timestamp delta absolutely bring us to that same sentence. And then this is the part that I wanted to get your guys' attention. When will records be unsealed? Shock and awe. And on Thursday, I think we're getting close to the moment. On Thursday, I'm going to tell you two of the things that I think are going to create the first wave of shock and awe. So with that, let's just take a little break from this. And then into this final part, I'm going to get to the part that I've been kind of just just keep you guys hooked. Keep you guys hooked, right? Do me a solid. Whatever platform. We got a little over 1,500 people watching live over there on YouTube, a little over 2,300 people watching on Rumble, and then a little over 3,200 people watching on the other platforms. A whole lot of people, and I appreciate you guys giving me your time to listen to my assessment and opinion of things and my reporting. But while you're here, since the content is free, one thing you can do that would really help me out a lot is push the heart, smash the thumb, leave a comment, not just in the live chat, but leave a comment in the actual video. This helps with the algorithms, which then allows me to get this video out in front of more people, which then helps me grow this audience. So if you guys can do that stuff at a minimum, I would definitely appreciate it. If some of you are some hard chargers and you want to become some of my favorites, because listen, I am shallow like that. I will make some of you guys my favorites. Become monthly supporters. If you have the ability financially where it's not going to create a situation for you and you want to become a monthly supporter, I would definitely appreciate that. YouTube allows me to put 2 different levels out there. Rumble has 1 level. The other platforms have 1 level. Again, if you guys can do that, I would definitely appreciate that. Super chats help. Rumble rants help. No one owns this show. So if you're new tonight, if you're a first-time viewer, if you're a first-time viewer, let us know in the chat. This chat, what you guys will learn on all the platforms, you have some genius people in these chats. You have Anons in the chats, digital soldiers in the chats. You have people that have worked as law enforcement in the courts. You have all these people. You have, I'm not going to say what ranks, but you have some high-ranking military people that watch in the chat. So take this opportunity to meet each other, develop these friendships, find each other on other socials, and build these friendships. For those of you that don't know, I also am part of the Badlands family, where we do conferences 3 to 4 times a year all over the country, where you get to meet some of the Badlandia family. So, and I think somebody asked, is the Denver thing happening for the Colorado peeps with I think it's John and Ash and Josh are going to be there. I know Josh for sure. I know Ash would be there. I don't know if John's there, if he's just giving the approval. But these are the cool things of the people. So this doesn't just have to be a podcast that you watch. I would hope that you guys develop friendships, and some of you I've developed friendships with, and it's appreciated. So with that, let's get into some of this. Mostly Peaceful Latinas. They were on the show a few years ago. It'd be cool to get them back. Maybe we'll see if we can make that happen. But they said it's officially been over a year since Ian Carroll and Candace Owens said that they were going to break the RFK Jr. blackmail story. It never happened. People just moved on and expected the rest of us to forget about this. Now, if you guys remember, I talked about this a couple months ago when the whole TPUSA and Erica Kirk thing started. And I think somebody said that there was a first-time viewer on here. Hold on, I want to catch that. Let me see. SV Patriot. First time. Shout out SV Patriot watching over there on Rumble for the first time. Welcome to the fam. Super cool. I'm glad that we saw that. Then we got Roxy Ron over there on YouTube saying, great show, Alpha. Thank you. So if you guys remember, if we go to the first portion of last year in 2025, you had Ian Carroll and Candace Owens came out and they said, we have breaking news on blackmail against RFK Jr. He's done. He's cooked. And if you remember, I said back then, I said, this is bullshit. Why are they going after a guy who is trying to make America healthy again? But on top of that is also trying to make stuff. He's getting the red dye out of our kids' cereals. He's taking on the vaccine companies. Why in the world would you want to attack this dude? And again, they said, they even, if you guys remember, because I do remember, because I did shows on it, they even came out and said, we've shared our locations with each other. So if you try to hurt anybody, we're all aware of what's going on. Like, they put so much drama into it. And guess what never surfaced? Any of the bullshit that they were talking about. These people have a track record of attacking the people in Trump's circle, because they've realized that when they try to attack Trump directly, that it bolsters his support. So what the deep state and operatives and people that are just retarded have done since then is they try to attack the support structure around Trump. They try to go after the people he's appointed to positions, because if they can attack them, then they at least slow it down, or they at least get to subvert the support for this presidency. These are two of the clowns that have done that. Remember that. All right, let's keep going. And I will read the super chats and the Rumble rants here at the end. Viva comes out and says, Ian and Candace are not dumb. They're actually quite smart. Devious, but smart. their audience is dumb. And being smart, Ian and Candace know that their audience is dumb. And they are smart enough to understand that they can exploit their dumb audiences pretty much indefinitely. They are damn good at it. This coming from Viva, it put a smile on my face, because I'm like, I think Viva's starting to see some of these ops that I was telling them about. So I don't agree with Viva on everything, but I do believe that the man has a good heart, and I do believe he means well. And so even though we disagree on some things, we also have some mutual friends that I know a lot of people aren't fond of, but it is what it is. Eric Dowdy puts, update. The liars are furious. The prosecution against Tyler Robinson and the Charlie Kirk trial has almost 60 exhibits to put forth. Conspiracy theories are crashing down in real time. The defense is now hopelessly failing at stalling. We didn't realize how much video they had. If they track his steps minute by minute, any argument the defense had that someone else was involved was really cut in half. Convict ASAP. Again, I'm not going to rehash the entire preliminary hearing because I did that last week. If you are a first-time viewer, you can go watch Just Alpha on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. You'll get day 1, day 2, and day 3, where I break down the trial from my background of someone who worked in law enforcement, was a detective, did this for 14 and a half years here in California. And then on Saturday, I did a breakdown of day 4 and day 5 of the trial. So I'm not going to rehash the whole thing, but for those of you that haven't seen any of that, I just want to do a quick debrief on this. So with that, let me play this clip for you guys right here real quick.
Say it shows Robinson on campus at UVU 4 separate times, even though he wasn't a student there. And the consensus I've been seeing is that that video has been pretty damning for the defense. Your thoughts?
It has been. We were aware that video existed, and we had seen some surveillance video of the suspect leaving the rooftop, now who prosecutors believe is Tyler Robinson. But we didn't realize how much video they in fact had. The video that was revealed in court over the last couple of days is remarkable because it can track his steps nearly on a minute-by-minute basis. Yeah. Any argument that the defense may have had that somebody else could have been involved, I think, was really cut in half by this videotape, because they are able to, through different angles, track him nearly from the time he parks his vehicle to the time he makes it to the rooftop, the time that he runs off of that rooftop, and then they believe to disposing of the rifle in the wooded area behind the campus. So it was really powerful evidence.
What do you think of the job the prosecution has done so far? Again, this is like a 5-day mini trial. The standard is just probable cause. The defense is trying to delay. Prosecutors say they've got upwards of 60 exhibits they want to introduce. What do you think of where they are right now on day number 3?
I think they are doing a very good job. They're being very thorough.
So, Hottie 3 in the Rumble chat. He's got the Star David with the little Ghostbusters no thing on there, and he says, Jews did 9/11, Jews did 9/11, Jews did 9/11. Hottie, I'm just curious, who do you think did 9/11? I'm not sure I'm understanding what you put out there. Some of you guys are just crazy, and I love it. Here's the thing, folks. Let's just get through this part. The same class of people that have been hanging out and supporting each other. Sneeko, Candace, look at this. This is a photo put by Sneeko. You guys remember Malcolm X, and you remember the story behind that. And this goes behind an array of, right here, you have Sean Strickland, man was killed by Muslims, which is hilarious because Sneeko went and did a video. I showed this last week on one of the shows where he says all the world needs to become, I think, either Muslim or Islam or something like that, right? And he started getting called out by it. And so then he goes and posts this picture. Again, you have Malcolm X that's in there. And again, Sean Strickland comes out and tells him, man was killed by Muslims. That's to show the retardness of these guys. But the point being made of the rhetoric that they're trying to put out there. Sneeko also got caught. He has since deleted the post, but there are people that captured it. He got caught putting the prompt in for one of his posts. And in that, and I'm summarizing here, so don't quote me, but I'll try to keep this as accurate as I can. He even says that in the prompt line, to make this as provocative as possible. This is the way these people operate. This is what they want to do. They want to elicit this controversy. They want to create the violent rhetoric that's out there because they want to create the perception that America is being held together by a wire that is ready to bust. That's what they want you to think. They don't want you to think that America is coming together. They don't want you to think that the divide between real Democrats and real Republicans is starting to come together. They don't want you to see that. They are in a panic. DC is in a panic that the perception of establishment parties, that the perception of government, that this entire illusion of the way things have been for the last decades is collapsing, and that the people are ready to get back control. This is the shit that this panic in DC, this is one of the things that represents. This is why you see these clowns posting this kind of stuff. This is why you see them coming after people like RFK. This is why you see them trying to get a murderer free in the Charlie Kirk assassination. Let's keep going because I'm fired up. Matt Finn puts breaking Erica Kirk files a motion challenging Judge Graff to make a ruling on probable cause for a murder trial. As it stands, he would rule at the earliest in September. Pretty self-explanatory. I'm not going to really hammer that one down. And then Data Republican, again, small r, says the MOVE framework Candace Owens uses to train her audience to ignore evidence. I'm not going to read the entire thread. It's a good thread. Part. Tyler Robinson left a handwritten confession note under his keyboard for his roommate. He sent a text first: drop what you're doing, look under the keyboard. The response from Candace's audience: where's the metadata on those texts? The metadata exists. Now, you guys remember, I called this on the day that this was talked about in the trial, right? Search warrant number 321-7131, page 7. A warrant was obtained for Lance Twig's cell phone. The Statewide Information Analysis Center, SIAC, provided Apple ID information for both accounts on the device. FBI investigators reviewed the data. The warrant covers iMessages, FaceTime, and call history photographs, video locations, history, websites visited, email, and browsing history. But that answer won't matter to anyone who asks, and the reason it won't matter is the whole point of this thread. Here's how the MOVE works. This is important. Candace finds something about the case that hasn't been publicly reported. She treats the absence of public reporting as the absence of investigation. This is the line that I was talking about way before anybody else was. This was something I'd been talking about back with Tulsi Gabbard and the Russia at the beginning of last year. This is what I was saying to everybody. They know. This is before, remember, I was the first one, not the second, not the third. I was the first one on this planet to tell you guys that Tulsi was coming down the pipeline with RICO investigations. Why? Because I recognize the patterns, and it's from the background that I come from. And I told you guys back then, if you remember, they're calling for the resignation of Pam Bondi. They were calling for the resignation of Kash Patel and Bongino. And I said, they're exploiting narratives by talking about things that they know that the government cannot disclose publicly at this point. So that in the absence of them being able to comment or provide information, they get to exploit a narrative or an agenda to create confusion or distrust. This is Data Republican, small r, essentially explaining that. She fills the gap with a theory. When the evidence eventually surfaces, she doesn't engage with it. She finds a new procedural question about the evidence itself. And that question does the same job that the old one did, allows her audience to keep scrolling. Below are 6 videos, one pattern. Once you see the move, you'll catch it every time she opens her mouth in this case. As always, patience as I pull the thread together. Again, it's a good thread. I'll drop the link here in the chats for you guys that want to read it here in a little bit. But I do want to play this video because it does talk about the letter, and then it gives a little statement afterwards. So here we go.
Luna, if you are reading this per my text, then I am so sorry. I left the house this morning on a mission and set an auto text. I am likely dead or facing a lengthy prison sentence. I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I took it. I don't know if I will have succeeded, but I had hoped to make it home to you. I wish we could have lived in a world where this did not feel necessary. I wish I could have stayed for you and lived our lives together. I lack the words to express how much I love you and how very much you mean to me. Please try and find joy in this life. I love you always. Tyler.
Again, if you guys watch the show that I did on Saturday where I break down day 4 and 5, I specifically explain this letter, the text message conversation, the unredacted portion of the interview that we saw, and I explained how just the information from this probable cause hearing is a nail in the coffin for him. Again, you can go watch the show that I did on Saturday for that. And all the Just Alphas from this past week, I did my assessment analysis of the preliminary hearing at the beginning of those shows. So if you don't want to watch the entire show, the beginning of the show is for those respective days, with Saturday being the exception. Saturday I covered Thursdays and Fridays. Fridays was a short day anyways, although it did have significant information. So now this gets us into this point. Here we are, the point you guys have all been waiting for tonight. President Trump will be making a speech to the nation on Thursday evening at 9 p.m. Eastern. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Now, when I got the first phone call early today about this, of course, I'm not going to say by who, I started to reach out to some of my other POCs and try to see what could I get to kind of point me in the direction of what this potentially could be, even though I kind of had a strong indicator out of the gate. Because I figured it was going to be one of two things, if not both of these things. Is this going to be revolving around Iran, or is this going to be revolving around our elections? This is where my POCs are points of contact. And so thank you for asking that question. My apologies. I try not to use acronyms. But the point is, every now and then Trump makes up this, he gets all this adrenaline going because he's going to address the country, right? And then it turns out that it's that was all right. You know what I mean? It didn't add up to all the hoopla that everybody prepared for it. What I've been told on this one, that this is not that case. So with that, if you've been paying attention to Georgia had over 200 FBI agents deployed to the state of Georgia. And so now let's go to Nick Sorter's post, which came later in the day. And here's what let me read you what he wrote, and then I'll tell you some more thoughts here. Just in, President Trump will announce that both of Georgia's Democrat U.S. senators are illegitimate due to election fraud, per D.C. reporter. This comes after the FBI and other federal agencies raided election offices in Georgia recently. Exposed it all. John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock's days in the Senate might be numbered. Now, here's the issue that this is kind of where we're at here, folks. Over the last couple of weeks, I've been telling you about a game theory that Claire Cat 367 Rumble says, Alpha, are you saying we can stand on this rug? Stand on the rug, but let's just make sure we're holding on to something while we stand on the rug, because you just never know. And Jennifer A says, I'm in Georgia. It's still under investigation. Yep. There's new investigations that have started as well, Jennifer. So, but before, let me go back to where I was, because I lost my thought. If you guys remember the theory that I've been positioning us for, on why the Save America Act is not going to pass, even though Trump's pushing it so hard. And of course, it's to create this public indictment. And I told you guys that this would all have to happen, A, before we got to elections, and 2, before the first week of August, because the first week of August, I think it's either the 1st, the 3rd, or the 6th. One of those is the deadline, the drop deadline for the Save America Act to pass anyways. And so we're just a little over 2 weeks out from that, just under 3 weeks. So we already knew we're approaching this line in the sand for something to unfold, at least the first of these dominoes. This is that first domino. If this happens, if this unfolds, and Trump comes out and makes a statement surrounding, do I think that these two senators are going to just be pulled out? No, I don't think that's going to happen. But I think Trump is going to make a statement that is going to call into question the legal authority that they have by saying that there's irrefutable information to support that this was a fraudulent election in Georgia. That's going to call for, I don't know if it's going to work with the state court first, the Supreme Court first. I'm still waiting to hear back on some people on these things. But nonetheless, it's going to create a shitstorm. On top of that, I am also hearing that we're going to have information that surfaces regarding something more significant with ties to our election. And again, folks, I'm not trying to be vague for the purposes, I know and you don't. It's not that. It's just because people monitor these podcasts, and I don't want to burn sources. And being more detailed on something that's still speculation is that doesn't matter yet, because we're going to find out come Thursday anyways. And I don't want to burn a source in the process. The point here being what does matter. And that's that something's going to be delivered on Thursday evening that is going to create a shitstorm from not just the Democrats, but some of the rhinos on what authority exists and doesn't exist. This is where I think Trump's going to get to measure the court of public opinion for what's coming next. And I think that what I've been talking about, this choke point, this fatal funnel, where Trump is going to declare a national emergency, right? Because the executive orders, all there already exists, that this, on top of the other news that's going to come, is going to be the first foundation that Trump needs to deploy. Folks, if Thursday happens the way Nick Sawyer's hinting at and others are hinting at, then I'm telling you right now that this is going down the pathway that I've been preparing us for. And I don't have a whole lot of time to finish this article for you guys. So again, keep our country in prayer, keep our president in prayer, and everybody eyes on the AlphaWarrior Show on Thursday, because I'm going to be doing a live broadcast of this. And I'm pretty sure Josh is going to want to join me for this. So we'll probably come on and jump on an hour early to kind of provide our speculation. So I would imagine at 8 p.m. on Thursday, we're going to be going live, and then we'll be live all the way through into Overwatch and The Guardian. Me and CanCon aren't going to be doing sit rep that night. So for the purposes of covering this. So again, we'll be doing live coverage of that. Then we get this. There's one more thing that I want to show, but we're going to get there. The White House puts out, just dropped 4th UAP file release. I just want to point something out to you guys. I was going to save the conversation we just had to the very end, but I wanted to make a point. That's why I positioned it here. We're talking about UAP file release. If you guys have gone to the website, I have it up right here for you guys. And if you guys have ever fired through these photos and stuff that's there, it's wild shit. It's wild. And nobody really seems interested. We've become a humanity where the conversation around extraterrestrials, UAPs, aliens, orbs is just not that important to us. It's important, but not enough to the other things we're dealing with. I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know. But it's just interesting because all week people have been asking me about elections. They've been asking me about Lindsey Graham. They've been asking me about Trump and Iran. I've only had one person email me and ask me about disclosures regarding aliens and UFOs. So I'm just curious, folks. Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments. Do you not care because you're not buying it and you think it's all bullshit? Or you do care and you want to know, but the fate of the nation and our elections is just more important. So priority one is that, and aliens and UAPs, fall in the shadows of that stuff. Like, I'm very curious to where you guys are for two reasons. One, I want to know how much time to invest, and I want to know what kind of guests and experts to bring on. But if right now the focus, because of course I'm biased too, if the focus is our country and elections, we can keep the show going as it is. Eventually this is going to come to an end and we won't be talking about this no more, but we're not there yet. So, and I do see some people saying distractions. Are the elections the distractions from the aliens, or the aliens the distractions from the elections? Like, I'm very, very curious there too. So again, if you put in the chat, I appreciate it, but make sure you put in the comments too, because the chat will eventually disappear and I don't get to read the entire chat while I'm doing the edits, but I do get to go back and read your guys' comments. So just curious there. Then we get U.S. Space Command and does this, right? In 2025, we monitored over 6,000 missile launches globally with zero room for error. Hashtag US Spacecom connects deep space sensors to ground sensors, providing real-time missile warning and tracking. Now, again, I kind of packaged this up with the alien stuff. Again, it's talking about missiles, and I guess we're talking about wars and all that stuff. But here, you watch the video and you guys tell me what you think.
When seconds dictate survival, U.S. Space Command stands watch as the Department of War's global sensor manager. Our mission links orbital sensors in space with terrestrial radars on Earth to detect, track, and characterize missile threats the moment they are launched. In 2025, our teams monitored more than 6,000 launches globally, but tracking is only half the mission. Through our Trans-Regional Missile Defense role, U.S. Space Command acts as the vital link, sharing near real-time tracking and warning data to defend the homeland and across regional boundaries to the joint force, partners, and allies on the ground, at sea, and in the air, who stand ready to intercept. At Space Command, we stand silent, unyielding, ready to provide the eyes, the warning, and the critical link.
I mean, you guys tell me what you think. Now, I got two awesome posts coming for you as we wrap this up, and then I give you guys the treat when we do Rumble Rants and our prayers. I want to make sure these are not out of order. Okay, they're not. So, the Department of War goes and puts this post out. Did we forget to edit out the bottom right corner? And so you see this photo, looking out the window of one of the spacecraft and looking at the cloud-covered Earth, right? And so I'm like, oh, you do see right here. You look on the bottom right over here. Let me click on it here. You see there is some words there. So what I did for you guys is I zoomed in on it so this way you guys can see it. So I actually have the photo for you guys where it's clear. So I'm going to bring this up on the screen. And this is what the Department of War put. Congress should really pass the Reconciliation 3.0. Listen, this is serious stuff. I get it. But I mean, trolling and memes is trolling and memes. So you have the Department of War CFO says, did we forget to edit the bottom right corner? And we're all thinking, well, damn, this shit's important. Is it a timestamp? Is it a file number? And then we go and we click it. What does it show? Congress should really pass the Reconciliation 3.0. That is not something I modified. I didn't create that. All I did was I zoomed in on it and I cropped it for you guys. Now, the final one before we exit out of here, read the Rumble Rants, read the Super Chats, get a prayer, and then I play that special song that I wrote, was this post. You guys can tell me if you agree or disagree. But the Department of War, again, because they've been busy at work on social media, says, we are opening the aperture to America's disruptive innovators. We are strengthening our lethal arsenal of freedom. This Department of War is an open front door for new entrants, the War Department. And right here, you see the Pentagon. And you see the open front door. Now, call me a conspiracy theorist, but doesn't that seem like something hitting the Pentagon? Doesn't that seem like a missile or a directed energy weapon? And doesn't that look like the same area that the actual Pentagon was hit on during 9/11? If you're saying, I think so, Alpha, well, you're not wrong, because I got the photo for you guys. That's the exact same side and location of where the Pentagon was hit on 9/11. So I put this post out. Is it me, or is the DOW telling us what hit the Pentagon on 9/11? It's the same spot. Remember, their conversation is about opening the aperture of America's disruptive innovators, right? Strengthening it. What does that have to do with? Maybe it is. I'm just telling you that I am very suspect of this graphic not having a meaning to it. That's just kind of where I'm at. I would love to get your guys' feedback on this, but again, there's the image, right? Right? It's the opposite side of the point of the pentagon, right? There's the image. There's the part where it took the hit, and there it is, the opposite side of the point of the pentagon. And I mean, it is what it is, folks. I'm not calling this one a coincidence. I'm saying there is a signal here to that. And then that I'll save for tomorrow's show. So let me go full screen with me. Let me bring this off so I can get to your guys' Rumble rants. And actually, let's start with the super chats first. And then after that, I'll close this out with prayer. And then I got that special song that's going to debut today. So we have right here one of the mini 76 $20 super chat. They are the Duganites. I would not disagree with you on that one of the mini. And then we have Project Cheney, $10 super chat. And you thought saving your country was going to be easy. Thanks for holding the line always, Alfina Holstein. Y'all some shit talkers. Where we go one, we go all. I'm going to strike vengeance upon thee. Thank you for the support. And then, of course, the last super chat we have over here on YouTube coming from ARWD4H, $20 super chat. Thank you for the support. Now let me jump over to the Rumble side. Give me a second, folks, because I don't have a producer. So I got to do all this stuff manually. Let me bring this up and then let me zoom in. So just bear with me for a second. While I'm doing this, you guys can definitely smash the thumb and the heart if you haven't done so already. And I'll bring this up on the screen so you guys can see it with me. So let me share. And really do please share the stream because I appreciate that. Okay, here we go. We'll start like Kim K from the bottom. Now we're here. Final demand early in the show. Gifted 5 subscriptions. Thank you for that. Much appreciated. $5 coming in from Alan S333. Also a moderator here for the Rumble on the AlphaWarrior Show on Rumble. Brother, keep it up. Always will. And thank you for that, man. $10 coming in from our Broadway. Alpha, what are your thoughts on the part where it says the ending isn't for everyone? That is one thing that makes me kind of sad, if that makes sense. Who sings your songs? And Josh? I definitely don't sing because I do not have a voice. I use Suno to turn the lyrics of a song into something with audio voice. And then depending on what kind of song it is, depends on how I kind of describe the voice I'm looking for. And then once I find one I like, I'll stick with that. And then I'll start doing my other adjustments to the song. So no, it is definitely not me singing. Y'all don't ever want to hear me sing. But to answer your question, my thoughts on the ending isn't for everyone. You know, that one's deep, and I don't think there's any wrong answer to this. One, if you look at it from a spiritual perspective, the ending isn't going to be for everyone. Not everybody is going to accept God. And I'm not here to tell you guys one way to believe or not. I will tell you I believe in God. I will tell you I believe my works should help you find God. I will also tell you, don't ever base your faith on me because I am man, I am a sinner, and I will fail you and I will let you down. And your faith should never be based on man. Your faith should always be based on God. So I think from a spiritual standpoint, you know, you can obviously derive that. On the world of what we're involved in, I think one of the ways, and let me if I switch this. There you go. I felt too tiny over on the other side of the screen. One of the other ways you can look at it, the ending isn't for everyone. Everybody's always kind of attributed this to the normies. I kind of look at this as who's the one that read this? And the ones that read this were the digital soldiers, the diggers, the anons, right? I think there are a lot of people that are of the mindset that we are going to get full declassification at the end of this. And you guys know, I come from a world where I've planned and ran operations. And since we all seem to agree on one thing, that this is a military operation that involves a few civilians, but it is an operation. where I come from is you would never disclose your entire operation, because what happens if 500 years from now, 1,000 years from now, millennia from now, that the world comes to this situation again? And even in a more advanced technological world, playbooks are still playbooks that can evolve. Well, you wouldn't want your bad guys to know your entire playbook. If anything, you'd probably even lie about some of the way you operated your playbook in order to secure the integrity of it, so future generations of good people could deploy it. So I think there's a lot of people that think we're going to get full disclosure, and I don't when it comes to the plan. I think that we are going to get just enough to satisfy us that we were right about something, but I think it's always going to be something that's very open-ended. And I don't think everybody's going to accept that. I think it's going to create conflict. Now, there's a whole lot more conversations we can get into when you get into more of the technocracy. I think that's how you say it, technocracy of these things. 10 years from now, 50 years from now, what happens when artificial intelligence is to a point where it will surpass human knowledge and the ability for humans to keep up? I know I'm not somebody that wants to put computer chips and shit in my brain. But what happens if we don't and machines surpass us? Then who's going to make the sacrifice to become these hybrids of humans and machines in order to protect the people that don't want to be that? I just don't know. So this is a question, our Broadway, that can go. I mean, we could do a whole show on just this question. But what I would say is, I don't think there's any right or wrong answer to it. And I think the safest position for me on this is from a biblical standpoint. The ending isn't going to be for everybody. So we need to make sure we try to save as many people as we can. Probably wasn't the clarity you wanted, but I'd rather be honest. Georgia Peach 828 says, what do you think Trump's address to the nation on Thursday will be about? I think we covered that. $20 from 2812 VPJ. Is Denver Airport happening with Badlands? Yes, it is. So make sure if you have any questions, I'm sure Josh will talk about it again tomorrow night on DEFCON. But yes, he said he is going to be there, and it sounds like a pretty cool tour that he's going to have set up for you guys. So hopefully when you guys record it and either broadcast it live. I don't know if you'll be able to broadcast it live, but at least broadcast it later. That'd be kind of cool. Dollar for dollar from G Fontes 119. I'm way behind and hoping to catch up. Wanted to say to Gavin that they were directed to find something. They were directed to find crime, and he sure looks concerned. Now we must prove it. Damn right, G Fontes. And then we got 15 Tony Bach gifted one subscription, and to SV Patriot. Very cool, especially since this was SV Patriot's first show watching. So super cool. And then Final Demand gifted another 5 subscription. You guys rock taking care of the audience. $10 coming in from Rotten Dog, tipped it via the Rumble wallet. Super cool. Thank you for that, Rotten Dog. Let's see. Todd V. Realtor, $20 says, Alpha, love you, bro. Appreciate you. I sent you a message on Facebook. Just wanted to make sure that you see this shout out that I did for you. Also, would love to connect with you on my big bros who's a detective. Oh, absolutely. I will. I stream this stuff to Facebook. I haven't used Facebook in years, so I am going to make an active effort to become way more active on that, the way I am on X. So just so you guys know, you're going to see me start to post a hell of a lot more and be way more engaging on the platforms like Facebook and TikTok and Instagram. And I'm sure I'm leaving some out. So you guys are going to see me on there. Hold on. That said, folks, I would never message you on any platform asking you for personal information or soliciting crypto or banking or anything like that. There are two emails that I have. If you don't ever get an email from one of these, it is not me. There are people that have tried to scam you guys. So the first email, write this down or write it down later if you listen to the replay. The first email is okay, everybody always forgets the AlphaWarrior Show at protonmail.com. The AlphaWarrior Show at protonmail.com. Or the second email is alpha at the AlphaWarriorShow.tv. Alpha at the AlphaWarriorShow.tv. Those are the only two forms of communication that you'll get from me in email. Also, on Rumble, and Rumble's doing a pretty good job at taking these guys down, you will see people that reply in the comments that say, and it looks like it says AlphaWarrior, but they'll change an I to a 1, or they'll modify it some way that's not so easily to see. Click this link for crypto. Again, folks, I will never solicit funds from you in a private conversation that's from a comment. All my sponsors and affiliates are down in the chat. They're on my website. So if you ever have a question, somebody starts asking you for money, if you have my number, reach out to me there. If you follow me on one of the socials and you want to send me something there, and I will clarify for you. And chances are 99% of the time, I'm going to tell you that ain't me. So just be very careful, folks. That doesn't just apply to me. They do this to a lot of the podcasts as they start to become a little bit popular and they get traction. So again, folks, protect yourselves and don't fall for scams. But so thank you for that, Todd. You put me down the path to put some good information. Another one, $10 from Todd V Realtor. Here's the Facebook link to the shout out. Thank you. I will grab that so this way I can find it. So I'll leave that unhighlighted. And then another one. Hell yeah. So I'm talking about, Todd. FBI knocked on my door also after J6, but I didn't have enough to go through anything like you did. Proud of you, bro. Well, thank God, man. God bless that you didn't. I'm sorry that you still had to get the knock on the door, because I know that makes your heart stop. But I'm glad that it ended there. And then 47, I like what you did there. Desert Jewel 17. Alpha, this is my absolute favorite show, and I look forward to it all week. Thank you for keeping us all dialed in and for never blackpilling on us. I never will, but I always fight for you guys. Dollar for dollar, Keith O'Higgins. Disclaimer alert, folks. It's Keith. I want to know if the aliens, I told you, I want to know if the aliens probed Lindsey Graham's butt. It seemed to be a very popular destination. Well, if the aliens came back with ladybugs, they probably did, Keith. $5 from Snapcake Alpha. Check out the Q post with front door. Ooh, I like that, Snap. You just gave me something that's going to keep me up tonight. Let me take this off. Let me go full scale with me. Let me see if any other super chats came in. All right, we're good on that. All right, so give me 1 second, folks, as I get all this set up. I want to get that final video for you guys lined up too, and I'm going to do our prayer. So give me 1 second. Just want to set this up. If you guys don't like the video, just don't beat me up too much in the comments. Like I said, it's more personal. It's different from the stuff I've put out there before, but I feel like it'll at least resonate with some of you guys. So we're at about, hold on, I still have you guys zoomed in, so I got to unzoom this. All right, so we're a little over 2,300 watching on Rumble. If you guys haven't done so already, again, please smash a thumb, hit the heart, leave a comment, share. We're a little over 1,200 watching live on YouTube. If you guys can do the same. With that, you guys, if you don't mind, bow your heads, close your eyes. Don't do it if you're driving. Father, thank you for another day of life. Father, thank you for my family. Thank you for my kids. Thank you for my parents. Thank you for my little brother. Thank you for my sisters. Father, thank you for the life that you gave me. And even in the times when I begged you to change things, you stood by me through the persecution, trials, and the tribulations that I had to endure. Father, sometimes you put us through things in life not to punish us, but to help us to find our own salvation. Father, there are people that are listening in the audience right now that don't have good news when it comes to their health, to their marriage, to the relationship with their kids, their friends. There are people who are struggling financially. There are people, Father, that are so tired that they can't even cry anymore. They can't even get on their knees anymore. I ask, Father, that you bring them comfort, that you help to remind them that at other parts of their life, when they saw no light, that you always found a way to take care of them, and this time won't be different. Father, I also ask that you protect our president, that you protect our military people, that you protect my kids who have joined the military. Father, I also ask that you protect me from my own ego and my own motives, that you protect the people that have access to me that mean harm to me or my audience from not being able to fulfill their missions, and that you put me in contact with the people that will help me and will help my audience. We pray and we ask all this in your son Jesus' name. Amen. Well, folks, we did it under 3 hours. Y'all didn't think I could do it. Y'all doubted me. but we did it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Again, I'll be going through the comments to see what questions you guys had. And again, I didn't forget, I'm going to be doing that compilation where I get all the preliminary hearing videos and put them into one video. And I'll probably be doing that a little bit later this week. And let me see. I want to make sure I didn't lose it before I let you guys go. All right, Todd, I still have that link to the Facebook. So I'll go check it out. So here's the final video, folks. And let me know what you guys think in the comments. And if there's a person out there that needs to hear it, I hope you hear it tonight. Good night. God bless and Semper Fi.
God, I'm so lost. Down on my knees, trying to claw through concrete, searching for something I never buried. Love stands right in front of me, but these hands still reach for the flame. If I don't break it first, one day it'll break me the same. How do I protect you when I'm the only danger left? I'm fighting ghosts that disappear long before we ever met. My heart still beats to a rhythm calling out your name. Every step toward the light feels like walking through the rain. I'm chasing shadows that disappear before the dawn, still believing there's something worth holding on. Answer the question I don't even know to ask. I've memorized survival, forgot what living means. I've carried every broken piece like it belonged to me. Every scar became a language, every silence learned to scream. Every road I called my freedom led me farther from my peace. You were only one breath away while I was running from myself, looking everywhere for answers. You had already written on my heart. Still my heart beats to a rhythm pulling me somewhere, like there's a voice beyond the silence, breathing life into this air. Maybe I've never been abandoned, maybe I've never walked alone. I spend my whole life asking, what am I supposed to do? Now the clock is running out, and all I have left is truth. Who am I without the armor that I wear? Who am I if you were standing here? God, you're only one breath beyond this prayer. Please answer the question I don't even